Hello everybody, and welcome to a very special show. It's not about data, it's about FOMO. Fear of missing out. Don't adjust your screens unless they're like fuzzy or upside down or something like that, because you are having a crisis. It is I, Crisis, coming to you live from a particularly ugly wintry morning here in New Zealand. Hopefully the ugly is not here and mostly on the outside. I've got all of my new lighting set up, so I feel like I'm being launched in some kind of very bright rocket ship onto the internet to talk to you about FOMO, fear of missing out. So you're used to me bringing you shows that are all about data, the data of comic books, the data of epic collections. This one's a little bit more from the heart. I've been collecting collected editions since 2010, and I've been collecting comics since the 90s. And in that time, you miss out on a lot of things. Things that you thought, ooh, should I buy it? Should I not buy it? Then one day it's no longer in stock. It's no longer in your cart. It is gone for good. And so having been around for 15 or 16 years, of buying these collected editions, I've had that experience many times over. Sometimes things come back into print, sometimes they don't. And so not only does that mean that I've missed out on books that I probably should have bought at the time that now are hundreds and hundreds of dollars, but it also means that I look at my shopping cart today with this fear of like, what if it's not there tomorrow? And especially with the quick sellouts that a lot of books have been having, especially Marvel books in the past year, I know we're all starting to have those FOMO feelings. And so I quizzed a lot of you yesterday, if you're viewing live, about what books you were having FOMO about. And I'm going to count down my top 50 books that I have FOMO or deep regret that I did not buy. And so these are books that are spanning things that came out even before I started collecting, all the way to things that are releasing later this year that I have fear of missing out. And will that drive my purchases? Because again, I am in New Zealand. It is really hard to get some things here. Some people just don't ship here. There's a book I was trying to get last week that I went directly to the publisher's store. The publisher's store said we ship worldwide, but their world map apparently does not include New Zealand, which is a trope that we like to make fun of here in New Zealand, because they were like, oh no, we don't ship there. Great. So that's why I have fear of missing out. You might have it for different reasons, but we're going to talk about all of our reasons, and we're going to talk about my top 50 books. And I realized halfway through making this show, and actually just a couple of hours ago in the chat this morning, that this means I might be setting several hundred people out in the world to look for these books, some of which I know have only 10 or 15 copies in stock because I looked into it. That might have been a poor choice, but here we are making poor choices. Sometimes that's what this channel is about. Okay. It looks like maybe we didn't get the beginning of the, and my mouse, I've lost my mouse. Things are happening here, and I really don't know. Oh, there we go. Okay. So I want to say hello to some of the early commenters. I think we might have lost the first few. So Invincible Igor is the first commenter, and I love this first sentiment. It's a shame they don't send me their books for free. You know, there are people out there who get comp copies, but they would also have to pay the shipping to New Zealand, which is a lot. Nicola was here early. Logan Wayne saying hello early. Cedric and Ellen. Need Fool Things goes right on my FOMO list of streams I gotta watch because of the person streaming it. That's so kind. Kira to Wiccan Solar, who was up all through the night here in New Zealand, because I saw them online a couple of times while I was up all through the night. Matt H. Hello to you. Super Job, one of our very regulars, I was looking back at old streams because I was trying to find a certain piece of information and just marveling at just how many comics Super Job reads every year. Nathaniel Rambo will be my first stream live, making of yours if you've made it live. This comment was from a little bit before the show. Welcome to you. Super Panda, hello, saying I just went through my collection last week and made a list of all the books that currently exist that I'm missing, so this stream is very timely. Edwin Billiot is here. Let's see. Nicola said hello once again. Jade Rabbit, who has some of the best questions of the stream. One Wheelchair X finished a performance earlier today, so we'll be able to watch the stream. If you have not been on One Wheel X's channel, first of all, you must go subscribe to his channel. You simply must. And he did 3 very in-depth breakdowns of the first 3 episodes of X-Men 97. So if that's the kind of thing you're hoping that I'm going to talk about, I'm not. It's just not what I'm going to talk about on this channel. But I watched it. Of course, the second episode, I can't spoil it for you, but it had a needle drop of one of my favorite songs of all time in a really cool sequence. And One Wheelchair X broke that down entirely, and Max and I were actually very active in the comments for that second episode, so it's like experiencing me talking about it, except for it's not me, it's Wheels. Ryan Bragg is here, as is Jamie C47, saying, I won't be able to stick around for the whole thing, but will pop in while I can. My FOMO is Uncanny X-Men Volume 4. Ash Knight Table saying, it's a genius idea, thank you so much. North Lake Ghost has never been on a stream before. Wow, so many first timers, but not James. It's not James's first time. James, the cerebro of the comic loving internet. Max is here. Max and I worked on a special project this weekend, and I will talk about that a little bit more in the after stream. Oh yeah, I totally forgot that I have to set up the after stream. Hey, so let's just talk about that for a second while I do that thing that I've got to do. So you can go subscribe to Max's channel. Max is a musician and a Beatle bopper, and we have been working on a new project that we are going to have on the channel probably sooner maybe than I thought, because we did a test of it this weekend and it went relatively well. And so now we are going to edit that up. It's not going to be a live show, and then we are going to record a few more, and then it's going to happen. So I'm really excited to regularly feature Max on the channel, given that I'm always talking to Max about comics and music, and it's not just going to be Max. So if you want to hear a little bit more about how that went, what we got up to this weekend, and any other questions you have that are not about FOMO, you need to hit reload, because now in the description of this video below is a link to the after show, which is only available to people who are viewing live, and then available after the fact to people on the Patreon. Okay, let me say hello to a few more people. Elliot the MB, very happy to have them along. David and Wiz, actually watching live for once. Wow, it's like all of these people out of the woodwork that we usually don't see. Practical Matt, looking forward to seeing some of it live. Lance the Library, the Jotan having a crisis of wallet, which I was absolutely happy putting this together. We'll get into that. Goody 3451, Maclock, oh my gosh, Kyoto to New Zealand Hawkster, and y'all, we gotta just start. I was talking to Bear's Lair. CNX Tuesday was saying Trash Can Fam. Richard Fearing is here. Batonessa the Witch is here. Oh my gosh, Ali Nazari. Dr. Zero, Lowe's Master 5224 for hello from the great state of Michigan. Wow. And getting it hot like Papa John. It is Papa John variant. Oh my gosh, there's just so many more people to say hello to. Peter Smits, Axel Plate, thank you. Good evening to you. Yarna Pauls is here. And we just got to get going. So my last hello is going to be to Gary D62. Okay. Oh, wait, one more under the wire. Silhouetted Animator. Okay. So here we go to talk about FOMO. So first of all, can you tell, I'm messing things up already. Can you tell me, am I centered on my half of the screen here? I'm not used to doing this layout because we've been doing the other media layout so often. And then let me also try to, yeah. All right, so am I in the middle here? Am I right in the middle? Let me know. Okay, so I want to talk about what I mean by FOMO and regret, and then we're just going to get straight to the list of books, okay? So what do I mean by my never-ending FOMO and regret? We all have fear of missing out of comics that are currently in print, right? Things that are single issues that we didn't pick up off the shop wall, things that are on IST, DCBS, Amazon, that we're like, I'll get around to it. It's on my wish list. And then we have the regrets of what we didn't buy when we had the chance. And that just leads us to more FOMO, because if there was one book, and I have left books in my shopping cart and missed them while literally in the checkout process before. So then the next time around when there's books we're not so sure about, the FOMO gets even harder and even deeper. I'm more like Two-Face. So maybe I have to center on this side. Oh, I'm behind the yellow currently. Okay, so that means I have to be over here. This always really confuses me. That's why I just like my little slice on the other show where I can just like hide in the tiny little slice, because that makes more sense to me. This always really confuses me. All right. Yeah, now I'm in the right place. Okay. So what the FOMO and regret is even more now that I'm in New Zealand, because in New Zealand, some things aren't available at all. Like I remember when New Mutants Volume 1 Omnibus went out of stock, there were no copies to be had in New Zealand. That was not a thing. I think I finally found one copy at one comic store in New Zealand. Comic stores in New Zealand don't stock a lot of this stuff because the audience is pretty small. It's like there's only about 5 million people here, and so they're only stocking as many omnibuses of any given title as maybe like one comic book shop in your local city might be stocking. And so that's like totally different than all of the comics that are available to you all across the United States. It's a very different thing. So, and then, as I already mentioned, some things just don't ship to New Zealand, and so that creates even more FOMO. And or there's something that could ship here, but I would have to spend hundreds of dollars to. There's one thing on this list, and we will talk about it, that it would cost me it's for you $200 or $300. For me to import it here, $1,200, because of just the way things accumulate, the customs charges, the shipping, and then the extra GST on top of how expensive the shipping is. That is crazy. So what is on this list? What kind of qualifies for me to be a FOMO book? Current books, I'm afraid I'll never be able to get once they go out of stock, because I don't think there'll ever be a copy in New Zealand. Recently out of stock books that maybe I still have a chance. I grab them off of eBay while they're still a decent price, even though I'll pay a lot of shipping. Books I'm just not sure if I should add to my collection or not. You'll see a few of those in the list where I'm like, oh, do I really need that? Because I've definitely taken the approach, especially because the market's so small in New Zealand, you can't always sell things here either. Even things that like in the States might have some kind of niche interest that you could put onto eBay and somebody might eventually buy. Here, there's sometimes no buyer. And so it's not as easy to... In the United States, sometimes you can kind of take a buy it first, figure it out later kind of approach, which I'm not necessarily advocating, but it's a thing you can do. That doesn't really work in New Zealand, because the figuring out later will be it's in your house for the rest of your life. And then finally, there's out of print books that were on my wish list. They're still like saved on my wish lists, but now they're either just out of stock or it's like price $2 million, because people put such crazy prices on these books. So keep in mind, as I said in the intro, I've been buying collected editions since 2010. So I've had the chances to buy all the things I really, really primarily collect. I'm not missing any of that. I'm not missing any X-Men. Well, we'll see. I'm not missing any Wonder Woman. I have every Epic collection. I have every DC Finest. So I know not all of you are in that position where you've had that much time or that much budget to dedicate to that. And I recognize that I'm very privileged in that way. So when you were all sharing your FOMO with me last night ahead of the show, a lot of people were like, oh, I missed this one Epic collection. I missed this one X-Men Omnibus. And not only do I kind of sometimes forget that that's reality because I've had the chance to buy everything, but also I forget that that's reality sometimes because I've been around for so long. For somebody who's just started collecting in like 2021 or 2022, you've already been in the game for 5 years. It's a long time, but some of these things haven't even been re-released since 2021 or 2022. So you have a ton of FOMO of like that one time you saw it for cheap on eBay and didn't get to pick it up. So I absolutely get that your FOMO list might be a little bit different than mine. And so some of my stuff is more obscure, but you know what? Some of it is not obscure. Some of it is stuff that would be really easy to get a hold of. So that is what we're going to talk about, and we're going to count down my top 50. I'm very interested to know, do you own some of these? If you own them, do you love them? Is it crazy that I don't own them? Or have you never even heard of them before? And so I will highlight your comments as we go about that. And also, just a reminder, in the description below is a link to the after chat. So if you have questions not about my FOMO books or your FOMO books and you want to talk about them, we will have an after show just after this. Here's number 50, Cloak and Dagger Omnibus Volume 1 and 2. Now, Volume 2, you can still get for reasonable price places. I've seen people selling them in New Zealand. I probably should just pick it up. But Volume 1 has become one of those books that is just crazy, crazy, unavailable, out of print. And the thing is, I think all of this material in these Cloak and Dagger paperbacks, they came out before the Epic collections came out. And so it's like, I don't really need these omnibuses, but they're like mutant adjacent. And I do think the omnibuses just do a really good job of getting everything together. And the paperbacks aren't epics. So I think I was kind of in this middle ground of like, well, I'm just going to wait until they re-release them as epics. Then I'll just buy them again as epics. They'll match the epic shelf. But it seems like they're not in a great hurry to open up a lot of other epic lines right now. And Cloak and Dagger was never the most popular to begin with. So we're lucky that we got it all in paperback. And so having these two omnibuses, I just probably should have jumped onto it when they're around. But I'm usually such a specific only X-Men and Omnibus collector that I'll like ignore other stuff. But then after it starts going out of stock, I think, oh, you know, I probably should have got that because A, I like it, or B, it's probably never going to show up in Epic Collection. Now, what's ironic about this is I do have all of this in singles as well. So this would be my third copy. So this is why it's only number 50. If I saw a cheap Volume 1, I would absolutely pick it up, no question. But this is not like the highest priority for me. I'm not like the most concerned about it because again, I have those issues in other forms. Badger Stump saying, luckily I bought both Cloak and Daggers when they came out. Yes, that is the way to do it. If they would just reprint Cloak and Dagger 1, they could sell all the backstock of Volume 2. Yeah, I probably should just get volume 2 now while I can, and I'm so stubborn about these things sometimes that you'll see several times I've skipped out on getting a volume 2 or 3, and then I screwed myself because now they're both out of print. Andrew Odevoida saying Cloak and Dagger volume 1 is actually really, really good and meaningful to me as a kid because it addresses struggles with religion. Yeah, there's a lot of really good issues in there. I think that a lot of people who have a very slim memory of them from the 80s are like, oh, it's just like the Mutant Also Ran book. No, there was a lot of good content there. If I own the trade floppies, would it be more economically feasible to custom bind them? Not in New Zealand. There's just not, I've looked into it. There's not a lot of people who do binding in New Zealand, and it's not necessarily very affordable. In the States, that would be different. And Lex Noyle only has Cloak and Dagger, Shadows and Light. Okay, let's look at the next one, which is Batman by Morrison. The omnibuses, all 3, and Black Casebook. Now, here is the thing about this. Some of these things I haven't read, or I've read in bits and pieces, like Cloak and Dagger. I've read this whole run. I've read this whole run twice. And the first time I read it was probably in 2010 or 2011, blew me away. Then I reread it in 2021 with Faria and Harry. We never quite made it to the end of Batman Inc. So that kind of tells me that I read this every 10 years, right? So I'm probably not going to read it again until 2030, 2031. So it doesn't like, it's not my highest thing. And I don't really collect oversized Batman. So I'm like, oh, maybe I should just get it in trade paperback. But I have such a complex relationship with this run. I love studying this run and all the details in this run. It's, to me, such a significant run that it's like, and the three omnibuses are so perfectly collected. It's kind of like, why would I not have them? And DC will probably keep them mostly evergreen, but you never know. Sometimes with DC, they'll like let omnibuses go out of print for a little while to work on the absolutes, and then omnibuses come back. So it's kind of like, is it really going to be in print forever? I don't know that for sure, and I can't say that for sure. Also, the Black Casebook coming out in deluxe edition later this year, that one's FOMOing me hard, because the Black Casebook, which if you don't know is the introduction of all of the Silver Age mostly issues that Grant Morrison referenced in their Batman, has been out of print for so long. So now it's coming out in deluxe, oversized, and expanded. Part of me is like, well, I'm going to wind up having all of that Batman in DC fineness, so I don't need Black Casebook. But the whole point is Black Casebook is Grant Morrison's specifically chosen issues. So just the opportunity to have Black Casebook in these 3 omnibuses on the shelf, it's like something that didn't exist for me in 2011 when I was originally reading it, and Black Casebook didn't exist when we were reading it in 2021, and I had to like find all those issues digitally. Sometimes they were like horrible scans, but it was like the only way to read some of those issues with Harry and Faria to prep for our show. So part of me is like, you should have it. It should be on your shelf. And then part of me is like, you're not gonna, ooh, sorry, little hint of what the next one is. Part of me is like, you're not gonna read it until 4 years from now, and then you might not read it for another 10 years after that. So, Goody saying, I love this book. I have the singles, the trades, the omnis, and the absolutes, everything. Archinism say, if I had to pick just one, I would do volume 2. Not super into volume 3 or Batman that much compared to other heroes. Goody's very excited for Black Casebook Deluxe. Yes, absolutely. If you love this run, you should at least read the contents of Black Casebook, even if you don't get Black Casebook. I need volume 1 and 2 for Morrison background, but it's evergreen, right? Yeah, it seems to be evergreen. But Rodham is saying they don't reprint deluxes. Don't they sometimes reprint deluxes? I think they sometimes do, but I don't expect that they'll reprint Black Casebook. I think that's a very, very special thing. Well, yeah, if I got these Omnis, Goody, then I would have to get Black Casebook. Yeah. So there we go. Okay, now you've already seen the next one, so spoilers. Oh, let me hide that current comment. It's the Memetic. Really probably is meme, but I don't think you can say Memetic, so I think it's Memetic Trilogy Slipcase. This is by James Tynion. It was some of his earlier horror work in comics. And if you've never read it, it's ingenious. It basically looks at 3 different ways the world could fall to a sort of zombie apocalypse, but not with actual zombies, with any kind of infectious thing that could be spread in a viral way, and not just viral in terms of sickness, but viral in terms of an idea. So think of like The Ring and how like everybody who watches the tape eventually dies. There are 3 distinct stories. Each one was a few issues each that were about that sort of thing. Of the 3 of them, there's one I'm obsessed with, one I kind of like, and then one I'm like, I don't need to read that again. So I've read them all digitally. So this is one I know from front to back already. And I don't have a whole lot of physical Tinian. He kind of exists after that 2016 barrier for me, where I really try not to pick up that much stuff physically. But I have bought the physical hardcovers of Wind because I read them with Kid Crisis and we love them. And they're really nice format. I love the direct market hardcovers of that. I also, after hemming and hawing, wound up picking the deluxe of Nice House on the Lake because it's just so intriguing. The art is so gorgeous. It's so queer. I really felt the need to support it. But I'm not going to ever be a tiny and everything person. And like, sometimes I'm like, oh, should I get Department of Truth in hardcover? I don't even always like reading Department of Truth on the internet. The same is true for Something is Killing Children. But this one kind of is stuck with me. And there's another James Tynion horror thing I really like, The Deviant, that I kind of want to get now that it's in deluxe. And I'm a sucker for slipcases, which you will see a few times on this. So part of me is like, oh, if it's a slipcase, like, oh, should I just do it? Like, but is he popular enough that, it's always going to exist? Will he reprint it, or will he only ever reprint it in deluxe once the slipcase goes away? I don't know. So like, part of me is like, just get it. And then part of me is like, will I even reread it? Body by Leafield says, got the deluxe. It's good. Dr. Zero said, I overspent on the Kickstarter with the Dan Moore slipcase along with The Woods. Wind is such a wonderful, fun read, saying New Zealand Hawkster. Glad my local comic store recommended it to me. Yeah. And Rodham is not helping my FOMO with the Department of Truth deluxes are great. And Lexi loves Nice House on the Lake. Tons of Tinian fans on the show. So if you've never read these, absolutely go check them out digital. Like I said, they're each, I think they're 3 issues each. There's 3 of them, so it's a trio of trios, and maybe they're 4 issues each. I don't know. But they're about the virality of bad ideas, sort of something that he, in a way, revisits in Ghost Tree. I really think they're worth reading once. My question to myself is, are they worth reading twice? And if they are, do I want them in a slipcase? So then the next one, now look, I'm old, and I've lived through some shit. And some of that shit was the 90s. And some of it was really stupid, racist comics in the 90s. But I still want them. Okay? So this is a non-judgmental space. Unless Jeff Johns is your favorite author, then I'm going to judge you. But otherwise, no judgments. Okay? No judgments. So, She is a comic written by a white man about a Asian warrior woman in who there's no plot really. I mean, there's a little bit of a plot. It's kind of like trying to do a little bit of a Daredevil riff, but also a femme fatale riff, but also it ain't great, and it's not super readable. But it's one of those comics that I had single issues of because I saw this cover, and this was it wasn't this exactly. I think this is a new illustration. But if I saw a cover like that in the 90s, because I collected anything with a tough woman in it, that was an instant buy. And so I, in my dotage here, I'm like, oh, it would have been nice to like have bought all of them and to sit down and just get to read them one time, even though they're horrible. And the creator put out a omnibus of just the first chunk. It's not like a super, super long omnibus. It's like her first like 10 or 12 issues and then 3 or 4 issues of the side series, but it's all in one book. And I finally could just sit down and read it and have it. And it's lovely. And it won't make any sense, and I'll finally have the experience I've always wanted. And that book is $100, and there are 14 or 20 of them in stock on his publisher website right now, which you all can go and buy. It does not ship to New Zealand. So for $100 US, all of you could have it. And the Kickstarter, I think I just like missed the Kickstarter, or the shipping charges were egregious. So what I could do is I could buy it in the States and just send it to Omar, and then wait until Omar gets like a pile of books for me and like ask him, please, will you like send these to New Zealand? I will pay for the shipping. But in terms of just getting it, I can't. And once those 20 copies are gone from his website, I really truly think you can't find it. It's not even on eBay. There's another She Omnibus that is something totally different with the same character that's on eBay. No copies of this have been on eBay recently. So I guess, Lance had it and sold it. Which, that's the other thing. If I spend that $100 plus God knows how much shipping, probably another $100 to get it here, and then I read it once and I'm like, well, that was an experience. I can't even sell it probably in New Zealand. So that's what I have to say about that. So Cootie saying this is such a crisis pick. Super Job saying, now I'm talking. Rodham is just laughing at me. Logan has never heard of it. Lex Nolly says, wow, I thought I was the only one who liked reading She. Well, I might not like it. But Pityma has it from the Bill 2G Kickstarter and loves it. Badger Stump says, I have this as well. It's great in its way. That's the thing. Like, the art is really cool, and it's even though she was very cheesecake and sexualized, the story, unlike Lady Death, where the story is sometimes about her sexualization, from what I recall of She, I don't remember that. And by the way, I have absolutely some of the original #1 of this, which I'm sure is worth something if I got it slabbed. Super Drop, interesting fact, Witchblade's first appearance was in the She and Psyblade crossover. Guys, you guys have so many funny comments about this. Unfortunately, most things are written by straight white men. Yeah, but this is very specifically. So that is my number 47. You can go and buy all 20 copies and then I don't have to worry about it. And Max is mocking me saying, I love how the stream is called FOMO, but it's actually just please help me. New Zealand is actively working against me. Story of many of my stories in life. Badger, only 7 in stock. 10 of you bought it already. Okay, I think it's actually listed twice with 2 different covers. All right, let's look at the next one. Princeless. I love this comic. If you have kids in your life that you want to read a cool adventuring story about young girls with agency that's funny, clever, and cute, read this with them if you can still find it, because it was from Action Lab, and Action Lab went under and well, sort of. I mean, I think they're partially still around, but they mostly went under, and they retained the rights to this from Jeremy Whitley, who some of you might know from writing Unstoppable Wasp, such that he can't do anything with it at the moment by himself. Now, I have read all but the final series of this, because I forget if it either didn't come out or it came out after all the Action Lab bad stuff went down, and he was now actually going to make money off of it, and I felt really horrible about buying it from Action Lab. But it was coming out in trades for a while. And then it was coming out in deluxe hardcovers for a while that had 2 trades each. They had the worst graphic design. But also Rostein and Ted Brandt did some of the art on the early ones. You might know them from Crowded. So, I mean, there's a lot of cool things about this. So it's about a princess who's the youngest daughter of a family, or maybe she's one of the younger daughters of a family that is all daughters. And so they've got to marry them all off. And so they all get sent off to either marry somebody or to be kind of like kept somewhere to await marriage. So it's almost kind of like Mario going from castle to castle to free princess, but she's like always in another castle. Basically, this daughter is like, I'm going to be my own prince. And so I'm going to be princeless, and I'm going to go around and save my sisters from this fate. But she finds some of them maybe don't want to be saved. Maybe some of them are happy, or maybe some of them got up to something else while they've been away. It's one of my favorite fantasy comics. I love it so much. And the part of the FOMO is not picking it up when I could have. And part of the FOMO is I don't even think there's a physical collection of the last one. So even if I had been picking up as it had been going, I would have been left incomplete. So highly recommended. Please check it out. And if you love it, please tell Jeremy Whitley that you did love it. And then maybe one day we can get it physically. Goody saying better than Dork, I assume. I've seen so much talk about this Dork series, and it's been while I haven't been reading anything current, so I have no idea. But all I know is I see everybody talking about hello to D. Marcel, and Superjob loves Zombie Tramp. Even though I've not read Zombie Tramp from Action Lab. So Action Lab had its more adult side that did stuff like that, and the Calvin and Hobbes rape comic, and then by my least favorite Marvel author. And then they also had the kids line, and it was weird how like those were the 2 things they did, which was like sexy tit zombie books and then a kids line, both at the same time. Okay, let's continue. The next one is ones that very available. The Terry Moore-verse hardcovers. Now, I've not read all of Terry Moore. I have read Rachel Rising, I've read Serial, and I've read, one more. 5 years, 10 years, something years. And I love them. I love the way he draws women. I love his protagonist. This is the guy, he's allowed in the club to write women, I think. I mean, let's hear from some cis women what they think about that. So, and trans women. I distinguish that because I'm non-binary. So it's like, I don't really have a dog, cat, or horse in that race. But here's the first thing. The cover of the existing hardcover of this is the most hideous thing I've ever seen, because it's all in green with her silhouetted in black, and that little stripe is like white, or no, it's red. It looks like some like Christmas tree got ran over. And so I was never going to buy that. because it's too ugly. I have this thing, I've talked about it before. If something is too hideous, I can't bring myself to purchase it and like let it into my world. And then that creates FOMO later when it goes out of stock. But the thing is, I love everything I've read of Terry Moore. I know that he puts such consistent dedication into everything, and that's its consistency. It's so many whole stories, including ones that I haven't read, like Motor Girl, that are like, you know, all drawn by him, all written by him. And so it's this perfect bookshelf of all stuff that's single creator stuff and is to such a high quality and exists in the same universe as itself. And we all know that I am a sucker for shared universe. So all of those things are really attractive to me. And they've come and gone. He didn't always keep them 100% in print, but he usually would go back to print them, and now they're all getting reprinted through Dark Horse, it looks like, and this is going to be one of the first ones up. So this is like a chance to get them all. And so I have kind of FOMO in advance of like, should I just start buying the Dark Horse versions of these, or it's like, do I really need them? Am I really going to read them on the shelf? Am I going to ever reread Rachel Rising? Like, I read it once. A lot of things I don't ever read again. And so like, if I'm not going to read it again, do I really need it physically? But I always look at them, I'm like, oh, it's a shared universe, which I almost always will spend money on. And they could all put in my shelf. They could be one whole big shelf. So Artinism is like, this is going to turn into, I set up an eBay save search stream, isn't it? Quite possibly. It was that for me. Terry Moore books are getting the brand new hardcovers later this year. Yes, and I am having advanced FOMO of that. Super John, the thing is, I was thinking about like, oh, is this if I won the lottery, would I buy all 50 of these? And not necessarily, because A, some of them you just cannot get. As we get higher on the list, you will see. And B, some of them like this one, I'm just not sure if I want it on my shelf, because I try not to collect just to collect, which I know sounds crazy when you've seen all the stuff that I've hauled, but like, I really try to collect things that I've always wanted, that are only ever going to be in that format and not be digital, or things that I'm going to refer to all the time, like my Epic collections. So like the idea of a book that like I might only read once or twice sometimes just is like, I don't know if I need that. Jason L. Wright saying Terry Moore is great, much must have. Samantha's here, can't wait to go back and watch the replay later. Bear's Lair says, this is on my list. I've been sitting on a want list as we speak, tempted to pick it up to upgrade from softcover that is signed. So yeah, to have a point where it's so ugly, it's cute and then acceptable. Yeah, I'll try to think of an example of that. There's definitely things that like I found aesthetically hideous, but then it came around and like, I think Copra often fits into that. Like, this is not aesthetically gorgeous, but it comes all the way around from being weird looking to being aesthetically gorgeous, if that makes any sense. So I think Copra in general fits into that for me. But I encourage you all to read some Terry Moore digitally. It's very available digital, and it's worth reading. His stuff is absolutely amazing. Actually, Batnessa, you would love this. If you've never read or heard of this one before, you would really, really love this. Okay. Next up, Planetary. Here's one that I have in not every possible format, but a lot of formats. I have the original Absolutes, back when the Absolutes were two separate Absolutes. And I have it in trade, which was one of the few comics I was reading in my no comics decade. I was still reading Planetary because I saw Cassiday's name on it. I was like, Cassiday, just like on Astonishing X-Men. Then I became addicted to and I remembered Warren Ellis from Excalibur. And then I got addicted to this on its own. But here's the thing. Previously, when it first came out, I've actually bought it. I'm looking on Amazon as I was preparing for this. It's like, you bought this. I'm like, I bought this? But I remembered I got it for a friend of mine, an old boss who really liked comics, but wasn't like a sit down and read a pull list every month, but he loved like complete comic stories. And so since this is like a comic about comics, I got it from him and he was like, oh, Pete, that was so great. And I was like, I know, it's one of my favorites, but I never bought a copy for myself. So here's the thing. I was okay with that because I was like, look, I have it in paperback and all of my Wildstorm collection is standard size. And then I have it in Absolutes, one of my only four Absolutes, because it's something that's really, really important to me. And those are the only formats I needed it. But now DC has done some oversized Wildstorm in doing the Authority, and the Authority crosses over with Planetary at one point, and this has a couple of extras in it that those other collections don't have. So, and it's come back into print, I think once already, so I'm sure they'll reprint it. It's a perennial seller. So the next time it comes into print, I'm kind of like, should I get it? Should I get it to have an oversized shelf all that's uniform in case DC does like a more Wildstorm omnibuses? Or it's like, Crisis, you're insane. You already have this in 2, maybe 3 formats. Now that I'm thinking about it, you don't need to buy it again. So I I don't know. I don't have an answer for you. Yeah, Batonessa, Rachel Rising is about it's kind of like iZombie. If you've never read iZombie, you'd probably like that too. It's about a woman who dies, but she's not dead for some reason. And so it's about her and I think her little sister trying to figure out like who killed her and why she's still alive. So it's got like a little bit of a macabre element, but it's also a little bit of a mystery, and it's also got like a little bit of a supernatural, but some of it is just very slice of life. Like it's like that's all of Terry Moore is like that. There's like one fantastical element and then one really normal element and then like one kind of mystery element, and like every Terry Moore book except for Strangers in Paradise kind of is like that, and it just strikes me as something you would really aesthetically like. It's all in black and white, fair warning. So anyway, so that's how I feel about this. Dr. Zero saying, I wanted to buy the Absolute, but reviews of the second printing said the gutter loss was bad to the glued spine. Oh, well, there you go. And you can still get it for 50 or 60 bucks in America. But for me, once it's out of stock at like in-stock trades, which for some reason just has magical cheap shipping, I don't know why. Once something goes out of stock in in-stock trades, then it's not cheap for me anymore. And so I've got to decide, is this book worth an extra $80 of shipping? So there is that to consider as well. Edwin is always fueling my sickness, saying you can never own too many copies of Planetary. Okay. Number 43 is the Invaders Complete Collections or Omnibus. So I have this in its original Invaders Classic Collections. The Complete Collections, I think, added like 1 or 2 issues that weren't in the Classic Collections. And am I ever going to read this in Omnibus? Probably not. I mean, it's mutant adjacent because it has Namor in it, but I don't know that I'm going to read it in Omnibus, but it's still available and I can get it very cheaply. And once it's gone, it's going to be gone. And Marvel's probably not going to reprint it again, at least not for a long, long time, or until they do something with these characters in the MCU. So I'd already missed the Complete Collection. So it's part of me is like, if they're, or will they maybe do epics of it, right? For a lot of the Marvel things, I was kind of like waiting for them to do epics. And now I'm like, oh, they might not do epics of some of these. So it's like, do I put an eBay alert out for the Complete Collections and just try to snap them up? And then, because I know some things are from the 70s, we're probably not going to get epics, we're just going to have Complete Collections. Do I get the Omnibus while I can still get it easily, even though this just does not fit with my Omnibus collection, unless I get a bunch of old Namor, which I don't currently have any Namor in Omnibus. So it kind of just like fits into this weird multiple zone where I'm like, do I care? So only Kane calling me out here with, I'm always wondering why readers will buy multiple versions of the same book. I'm not talking about upgrading, which I find to be different. Oh, well, for me, it's kind of like it's about cross-referencing and finding it on my shelf where I want to find it. Like if something comes out in Epic Collection, I will get an Epic Collection, because then when I go to the Epic shelf, which is often where I go when I'm doing research, it will be on the Epic shelf, right? And so I know that sounds like collectorism, but for me, it's like in a library, you know, going to the Dewey Decimal System and, you know, finding a book that's about cakes and French history is going to be shelved in French history or cakes, because my collection is so expansive and it's like in multiple rooms of my house and multiple stacks downstairs. Sometimes I do kind of want something in 2 different formats, not for an upgrade reason, but because I want to find it in both places. But I try not to do that. With Invaders, if it came out in Epic, I would get it in Epic. But yeah, so I don't need to spend a whole lot more time in this. It's not, it's not something I love already, but it's something that I just wonder if when it's gone, I'm going to be really upset that I didn't buy it. I got this at a sale recently, says Hank Hordes Comics, and it was really fun to read. Okay. Number 42 is a comic book you can all buy very easily right now. So can I, but that won't be the case once it goes out of stock. If it goes out of stock, who knows? Maybe it's because it's DC, it'll be around forever. But that's what FOMO is about. Oh, gosh darn it. That's what FOMO is about, not knowing these things. So it's the Zatanna Omnibus. It's mapped so well. I mean, if this had just been the one ongoing series, I think I would be able to resist. The only oversized DC I get usually is Wonder Woman, Wildstorm, and Sandman Universe. But female characters written really, really well by Paul Dini, who I think we all agree is a man who's allowed to write women, because he writes them very well and very sensitively. And DC, I think, actually looked at our Tiger Eyes map and put more stuff into this omnibus so that it would be more complete, such that if they ever released a classic Zatanna Omnibus, which did very well in the omnibus poll, we would have all of Zatanna in continuity in 2 volumes perfectly on the shelf. For me, that is something that makes me like insane. Like the idea that I could have a perfect collection of a single character in 2 volumes, that's like, Do you know the cat, the gif of the cat that's breathing really heavy? That's who I turn into when I think about the possibility of that. So like, this is everywhere right now. I could buy it whenever I wanted to, and then I could have it. But part of me is like, are you gonna reread this? With Wonder Woman, it's like, I look at it constantly. Kid Crisis reads it. It's like, it's used. It's beloved by everybody in the house. So, and it's Wonder Woman that matters a lot to me. For Zatanna, it's kind of like, she doesn't matter the most to me, but I do like her, and I do like collecting women characters in oversized format, but how many times am I going to read it? And if I don't like it, then am I ever going to sell it? It's kind of like I'm trapped in that wash cycle, and I often get trapped in that cycle, and then one day, it's gone, and I'm upset that I did not buy it. So there you go. James Abel has my eye on the Zatanna Omnibus. See you next Tuesday, saying, I just got this. Ali Nazari saying, Paul Dini is the greatest of all time. Goody saying, I have most of these. Well, you're very lucky, but maybe you don't have a lot of other stuff that I have. Z is a must-have for me, says Cruel Angel. I've just read it. I just haven't read it. I'd buy a Z Early Years Omnibus too. Everybody loving on Paul Dini. Jamie C saying, I want this Omni a lot, but I don't have the budget for it. The X books and Wonder Woman coming in the second half. Yeah, I no longer even buy Omnibus, but I want that Zatanna Omnibus, his last library. I love Dini's work on her character. The other thing is this is all pre-Flashpoint. So theoretically, a Zatanna DC Finest line, which didn't that do well? I forget. I think it did well. Would also cover this. And again, I'm already in DC Finest, so I'm kind of like, oh, well, if DC Finest would take care of it, then maybe I just want to wait. So it's, but then if it goes out of stock, am I going to be angry? Oh, we already saw the next one, so let's just do it. Black Panther Omnibuses. Now, 2 months ago, you could still get all but one of these on in-stock trades. And I had them all in my cart, and I was like, maybe I should buy them. I love Black Panther. I think all of his material is pretty significant, and I think that he's closing in on being a fully collected character. I think actually once we get the omnibus between Reginald Hudlin and Marvel Now, we'll have all of Black Panther up to Ta-Nehisi Coates and John Ridley, right? So I love the way that they collected his early stuff in 2 books. I think it's material everybody should read at some point. I actually have it in Epic Collection and in Marvel Masterworks. So and I have not sat down and read all of it cover to cover in a single sequential read. So part of me is like, Crisis, this is insane. You have this material in your 2 favorite formats. You don't need it in Omnibus. But then the idea that it's like perfectly continued in Omnibus to the 2 Christopher Priests and then to the Hudlin. And like, it's just when there's a character you can have all of on your shelf perfectly in Omnibus, that is a strong siren call to me. And then in that intervening month where I had it taken it out of my cart, they all start going out of stock, and on-stock trade doesn't have them anymore. So that probably solved it for me. But then that means like I'm even more FOMO because I'm like, gosh darn it, I'm always going to like wonder if I should have gotten them all together. Yeah, that Man Without Fear era is the only era that's left to collect in Omnibus. And I'm on the Fool said, is it all good? I've only read the Priest run. Nothing is quite the same as the Priest run. I would say, you know, the early Black Panther stuff is Kirby, so it has a certain pedigree to it. I really like the 80s stuff because I think he was so off to the side of the Marvel Universe that people were allowed to kind of just do with him what they wanted. And so that allowed them to write some really good stories with him that like explored his own continuity and built that up. Then there's Priest. And then Reginald Hudlin just had such a conception of Wakanda that he wanted to expand of what Priest had built upon. So I think they all are significant in their own way. Ahmad Russell says, I have all of these in Omnibus. Superjob loves this cover so much. See you next Tuesday. I'll always remind people, there's tons of stuff I haven't read, even that I own. I read pretty much everything Marvel since 2010, and I read a lot of Marvel from 2004 to 2010. But then before that, I had always been waiting for things to get collected or show up in Marvel Unlimited. And then often, and the thing I always say is I often just read when I'm making comic guides. So like I've paged through the books, I have a relationship with the books, I've seen every page of the books, but I've never sat down like on my couch, put my legs up and like read 30 issues of something like this in a row. And so it's weird. Like I have different levels of reading. I have been through for a guide, have read in 1s and 2s, have read as scattered singles, or like sat down and binged. And often for stuff before 2000, I haven't sat down and binged it because that's not often how I consume stuff from before that period. And Lexi Noyle just ordered this Black Panther. And Goody says it includes some back matter from Marvel Comics Presents. Yes, because the 3 Masterworks as Practical Matte have FOMO on the Panther's Prey Omni secluded a little bit more than the Masterworks. Yes, that's another reason for me. Another reason for me. Potential of having all of Black Panther and OHC is what got me. This one was a rough read for me. Oh, interesting. So you wanted them all in oversized hardcover, but then this one maybe did not live up to it. Okay, let's look at number 40. Marvel Horror and Marvel Horror Lives Again. So the thing with this is, generally, I do not like buying omnibuses that are not a complete run. I don't like things that are like picking and choosing and doing anthology, right? So generally when I see those, I will pass them up. On this one, I think I made a mistake because this completely collects so many individual Marvel horror characters from the 70s that they're not going to get their own epic collection. They're not going to be collected comprehensively again. This was the way to do it. So I could have had them, and I think my philosophy at the time was very like, it's not X-Men, so I don't want it in oversized, and I'll just wait for it to come up in some epic or epic equivalent collection. But again, sometimes the omnibus really is the best way something's going to get collected, and I think that was the case for these. And I missed it. I missed it. Xbox by Degrees saying, weren't these available from Fanaticals? Fanaticals doesn't always ship to New Zealand, and when they do, it's not always affordable. So, and sometimes I've discovered recently, customs, or on the American side, eBay will just reject boxes that customs would accept from New Zealand. So again, not always an easy path for me there. Okay, let's go on to the next one. So here's FOMO of a book that doesn't even exist yet. This one comes out later this year, Swamp Thing Dark Genesis. So we've had this material in Omnibus already, but this is this perfectly restored version by Jose Villarrubia that's got everything before the 1980s Swamp Thing series and then the beginning of the Swamp Thing series in the 1980s before Alan Moore takes over. Am I interested in this? Not so much. However, if you think back to my 100 books I most want to read list, I want to read Alan Moore's Swamp Thing, and I never have, just a couple of individual issues because I want to read it with the individual or the original colors, and I missed it when it was originally in paperback with the original colors, and I hate the new colors. Not just because I don't like recolors in general, I just think they're bad. And you can like them, and we've been over this. But the solicit for this says they're going to do Alan Moore. I mean, DC has all but come out and said, in the next 18 months, you will get the Alan Moore Swamp Thing in this same format. So I have like advanced FOMO because I'm like, A, should I buy the Alan Moore one 18 months from now, sight unseen, because it's significant and because I want it with those colors and because it will be the chance to finally do that. And then when I do that, will I have wished that I got this too? I'm not a huge Swamp Thing fan, but maybe I would be a huge Swamp Thing fan if I finally read Alan Moore. So I probably could have, like, and 91 Pulp says, but it has a slipcase. Lexi Newell saying, I grew up reading Swamp Thing, so I may get this. And it's, well, and Renzo, it's not just original colors, it's the original colors painstakingly by hand restored by pretty much the best color restorer in the business right now. So there's no liberties taken, there's no judgments made. He's just looking at the original colors and trying to get it right for this specific paper they're going to print it on. So that matters too. It's not like he's just trying to get it right and then it's going to get blasted onto like pure glossy stock. He's trying to get it right, knowing what it's going to look like in this collection. So that is really, really tempting. Cruel Angel saying I'm going to pre-order it. Convince me why to replace my Bronze Age Omnibus. No, I don't think you need to, especially if you like the absolutes with the recolors and you already have the Bronze Age Omnibus, then this is not for you. This is specifically for the people who've been waiting to get the Alan Moore colors, the original Alan Moore colors, and to have it in Omnibus, and who want like a beautiful matching shelf. That is who this is being marketed to, which makes me wonder if they'll ever go back to prints of this, or if after they put this out, they'll just go back to doing individual omnibuses. Like, even if they print these separately, like, will we ever get it as a slipcase again? So I just don't know. I mean, Goody's saying this is probably the coolest DC release of the year. So yeah, I gotta just decide at some point. I think I've solved my FOMO on this, says Bear's Lair. Tempted, but I think I'm gonna just get the Moore. We don't know. GC Finest generally has used things as close to the original colors as possible. But I think in some cases of Batman stuff, it didn't among the Fool. So we just don't know. There was one set of trade paperbacks that had original colors. Yes. And Richard B just likes the format. Like, and I like that too. It's not a slipcase just because it's fancy. It's not a slipcase just to sell something expensive. It's a slipcase because this is a cool way to present this material together in a cohesive way. And Dana pointing out, like, if it does sell out, it's going to be super pricey on the aftermarket, a huge component of FOMO. Okay. Next up, the Judgment Day Omnibus. Again, it was around forever. Why didn't I buy it? Well, we know why I didn't buy it. Because I don't buy physical Marvel after Secret Wars. I don't. It has no place in my collection. There's nothing else physical here except this little book, House of X, Powers of X, which I got because I'm like, I'm going to reread that forever. It's amazing. It's significant. Like, I can break the rule for that because it exists outside of I don't care about Marvel after 2015 physically, right? This is my favorite Marvel event, and half the book is written by Kieran Gillen, pretty much my favorite comics author other than maybe Kelly Thompson, and a huge portion of the rest of it is written by Al Ewing and Cy Spurrier, which I also love. I love, love, love this, and it's probably not going to all get collected in the Krakoa stuff if I ever kind of decide I want all of Krakoa physically, and so it's kind of like, ugh, I should have just bought it. I should have just bought it when it was readily available. Now it's already creeping up in price. I missed my chance from in-stock trades. I'm a dingling. I'm a moron. I should have just got it, except for there was no reason to get it because it exists outside of my rules of things that I buy. So I don't know. I should have bought it, and now I look at it getting more expensive. I'm like, damn it. So now I'm like, oh, should I be on like the buy-sell trade groups in New Zealand? Maybe Samantha can help me find it. Have I ever submitted any kind of application or inquiry about being an editor at either Marvel or DC? That's an after show question. But what I was aiming for was James Rhodes saying, oh, I can't make it come up. James Rhodes, they're against you. Okay, I'm waiting for Eternals by Gillen Omnibus instead. Yeah, I said to myself early on that Eternals by Gillen was so good that if they put it out in oversize, I would buy it because I think I would read it repeatedly and it would fit perfectly on a shelf before this. So then I'll be even, I mean, they're going to do, Gillen's so famous now, eventually they will put it out. And then I'll be even angrier and have an even more FOMO that I missed this. Ali Nazari, the Trinity of Gillen, Ewing, and Spectre, who I and my Australian friend Felix jokingly call the axis of bisexuals. Gillen and Ewing are bisexual. Spurrier, we don't know, but he has bisexual energy. So anytime the three of them would collaborate during Krakoa, could be like, well, this one's by the axis of bisexual, so it's probably going to be good. Just a little in-joke that I have. Yeah, I won Judgment Day. I missed it, and now it's ridiculously expensive. I know, and they're not going to reprint it. They don't. I mean, they reprint some things like King in Black, but like this was not that popular, so we all just effed up. Okay. 37, speaking of Gillen, speaking of slipcases, the Once and Future Slipcases Volume 1 and 2. They are on in-stock trades right now. This has art by Dan Mora, beautiful colors by her name. I'm seeing her face, and her name just jumped right out of my mind. Jordi Belair. And I liked it, but I didn't love it. And the reason I always say that I didn't love it was that I felt like I wanted to know more Arthurian myth better to appreciate it more, because Gillen was writing such a literary take on Arthurian myth coming to life in the modern day. So then recently I started looking around. There's all these cool, really nice versions of Once and Future King or Mort d'Arthur that you can buy that are like illustrated or illuminated or in their own slipcases. And so I'm like, oh, again, Gillen, who I love, and I do have a lot of Gillen. I have dye in slipcases. This would go perfectly beside that. I have the oversized hardcover of Phonograms. So Gillen is somebody much like Kelly Thompson that I usually will buy everything. But then he writes for Marvel. I'm like, well, I don't get physical Marvel, but this is not physical Marvel. And I keep asking myself the question, am I spending money on this just to spend money on an object? Like, will I reread this repeatedly? To get something in this premium format, am I going to take it off the shelf and read it repeatedly? And oh no, it wasn't Jordi Belair. It's Tamara Bonvillain, right? Because Tamara Bonvillain does the really, really cool super neon colors, which is not a Jordi Belair style. It's a Tamara Bonvillain style. Thank you very much. So Max Appleman loved this. Only Kane thinks it's amazing. I own the train signed. Yes, get this now. Crisis, it's so good. I struggled with his great art. I need to give it another shot, says Goody. And that's the thing. I've read all of this, and it's kind of like, am I going to reread it again? Am I trading money that I could put towards saving for something just to have an object in my house that I'm never going to interact with? That's always my question. And like with those Black Panther omnibuses, I have so many ways to read it. I would just be trading money to put them on the shelf and to say that I have them on the shelf. So that FOMO, I'm probably going to let go. This one, I just can't tell you. I can't tell you what the answer is. I don't know. Will I want to read it again? Will I want to do a Master Gillen read? Will I have a year that I'm really, really into Arthur? I just don't know. So, and Slipcase. This is what I might order literally the second the show is over. All right, let's continue. To Moon Knight in Omnibus. Here's another one where I love this character. I had all of it in singles because I didn't know Epic Collections were going to be a thing, and I had the essentials, and I'm like, well, let's just get it in singles. Then I have it all in Epic, and it's about to be completed later this year, and as soon as that last one gets here, I'm sitting down and reading them all. But it's like, should I have just bought all the omnibuses? We could have had but again, in my mind, I only collect X-Men Omnibus, but that rule is a rule that I could break whenever I feel like it. And I love Moon Knight. We did a whole show on Moon Knight a couple of weeks ago. And now we have everything Moon Knight. All that we're missing are the omnibuses of his material from 2010 to 2018. And we'd have total coverage of him. And I love all of that material. So it's like, oh, why didn't I buy it? But then part of me looks behind me at my Epic shelf, and right here, I've got them. That's why I didn't buy them. But it's just so tempting to have a complete character completely in one format on the shelf. And it just makes me crazy. And Matt H saying, I had it in my cart only to return and find it sold out an hour later. That has happened to me many times where I finally decide I'm going to buy something and it literally goes out of stock while it's in my cart. So this one, much like Black Panther, I think if I just hold my breath and wait, and plus a lot of them are sold out already, but Moon Knight, they will go back to print on. I'm quite sure of it. I think I can survive, and I think the epics are mapped so perfectly that I don't really have hard FOMO, but part of me is like, you love him so much, you probably should have just bought them. Okay. Number 35. This was a recent Kickstarter, and you can still pre-order it from the publisher. It's the Fathom Timeline Omnibus. So this is something that I fuck with so much because of the way that they're doing it in specific. So Fathom was a book by Michael Turner, who had done art for Marvel. He had done art at Image. He struck out on his own at Aspen Comics and created this whole world of this woman who has sea powers. And so then she gets sucked into this whole Atlantean war of the world. It was on, because it's a shared universe, there's other books in this Fathomverse. I was excited to read some of it. And when I first made my Everything I Want to Read list back in 2017, I put all of this on there. And I did read the first like 8 or 10 issues, and it was not great. The concept was incredible, but the storytelling and the pacing, like you would get some awesome, like, Atlantean lore, and then it would just be a bunch of people standing around for like 20 pages. So I kind of gave up and I didn't keep reading it. This is not only going to be an oversized, not only going to be, perfectly collected and restored appropriately, but they're doing it in timeline order. It's basically like an X-Men Krakoa omnibus of Fathom. And they have committed that they want to do all of it in omnibus. Now, I was hemming and hawing all through the Kickstarter, and the shipping to here was so much. And I just am like, am I ever going to read it? I gave up on reading it digitally. What makes me think I'm going to sit down and read it physically? But again, for me, the siren call of a shared universe and the siren call of something in perfect and reading order, that I get the heavy breathing when I see that. And so that's just so tempting to me. And I'm like, you still haven't missed your chance. You can still get it, because once it's gone, it's going to be gone. And it just pains me. It pains me when I miss these Kickstarters. But you all have to understand that some of these Kickstarters, to get it shipped to New Zealand, it's like $70 to $100 shipping to New Zealand. So I'm paying twice as much for the book as you. And so for a book that I might never read, it's kind of like, I just don't know if I should get it or not. No, I don't think it's J. Scott Campbell. I think it's Michael Turner. I mean, it's Michael Turner's Fathom, unless they commissioned a new cover from J. Scott Campbell. I'm not sure. I assumed it would just be that. Yeah, not the throwback to Aspen. Been a while since I heard that, says Wiccan Solar. I read the first Fathom recently, and it was actually one of my favorites of the early Top Cow series. Blink NL 518 saying, wait, what does it collect? I have that Turner Absolute size book with some Fathom in it. Well, the difference is that this is going to be collecting it perfectly in story order. They're like, we went back and we figured out exactly what the story order is. So it's not just going to be in release order. It's going to be like exactly as you should be experiencing the story. It's like Crisis Reading Guide Fathom. So Papa John variant, I can't vouch for this too much because I haven't read that deeply into it. But yeah, it's very much like Surface Dweller realizes she has, and then the other thing that's happening is that the military starts to become aware that Atlantis is down there. So there's there's starting to be like a war on Atlantis as well. The concept is really cool. And I kind of am like, oh, maybe it gets like better as it goes on. Badger Stump bought this on Kickstarter. New Zealand Hawks are saying this was my biggest FOMO. Rather than wait for general release, I went down the Kickstarter for the first time, and my wallet was not happy with me. Yeah, Wiccan Solar and NZ Hawkster knows what I mean about the FOMO, because when you get something in New Zealand, you got to commit, because it is a lot of money. I know you can't do this, but to feed my FOMO disease, if I don't pre-order from DCBS, then I see if I'm going to order from CGN. My next chance to decide is IST and finally eBay. Well, yeah, but some of those don't. CGN does not have affordable shipping to New Zealand. It's like US Postal Service shipping, so it's like hundreds of dollars. eBay, I've learned sometimes it'll ship and sometimes it won't. So for me, it's kind of like DCBS, in-stock trades, sometimes Amazon. So I can sometimes get trades from Amazon, but a bigger book from Amazon would get like really beat up in the mail. And then sometimes my comic shop can be, but then it's kind of, or you just hope that it turns up somewhere in New Zealand. And the Kickstarter is a really good deal, says See You Next Tuesday. But then at the same time, Xbox by Degree says the Kickstarter is pricey for a blind buy for me. And Lance Library saying, had it in paperback and sold it, but I would like to. Okay, and Comic Book Report is here saying a FOMO show. Brilliant. Well, let's see what the next FOMO is. Tank Girl and Slipcase. So this one's an unusual FOMO because I don't know what I don't know. Usually you have to understand that almost everything on this list, and certainly every Marvel and DC hero, I know the bibliography of that hero so well because I either have a guide, or I've done it for the Tiger Eyes poll, or I've done it for the DC Finest poll. So when I look at any one of these things, I immediately know what's in it. I know what's missing. I know what's on either side of it. I just have like a sense of that. And even for the image stuff, like the Aspen stuff, I've put that in my reading order for myself, so much so that like I look at it and I'm like, okay, well, I know exactly what this is and what this is going to contain. Tank Girl, I just don't know. I've never sat down to look at what is the bibliography of Tank Girl, what order is it in. I see all of these slipcases of trios. This one is from 1988 to 1995, so that's the 7 first initial years. It's the years that kind of spawned the Tank Girl movie. And then there's like 3 or 4 other slipcase sets of trilogies of books. And so I think they're paperback slipcases, but they're still like together, so you don't have to hunt them down one at a time. And so part of me is like, do they come back into print a lot? Is Tank Girl big enough that they reprint them? Or like when they go away, do they go away? And then I'm like, I don't know what order they go in. Is it everything? Is it like a Vampirella situation where they kind of pick and choose and there's still going to be stuff missing? I need to just sit down and put it in order and figure out, do I care? But even if I don't care about all of it, I probably still want this one because it's like fits into that slot for me. It's like 80s indie comics, which is something I really, really love. It's a specific female hero. It's super punk and counterculture. It spawned its own movie. Like it kind of ticks every box of things that I am super, super attracted to. And for some reason, I'm just like, always like, I don't know, should I, shouldn't I? Because I don't understand it. And I think that this is one, it's rare for me to have a character. The only other one we were talking about in the FOMO comments ahead of the stream, Judge Dredd, where I'm like, I truly do not understand Judge Dredd. I don't know where I would begin. I don't know where it would end. I don't understand it at all. And so for me, it's just the great unknown. And I kind of feel like that about this. Luke Warwick saying thinks I would love Tank Girl. I've read some newer Tank Girl and I absolutely loved it, but I've never read it from the beginning. So I probably should just buy this. I should like ask for this for a holiday or a birthday or something, and then decide if I really want to do a guide and kind of track down everything. Yeah. Okay. Nexus. I've always wanted to sit down and read all of this Mike Baron and Steve Rude series about this kind of intergalactic hero, but he's kind of like Nova, but then a lot of it's just intergalactic politics. A lot of it's just his personal relationships. It's like not always an action book. It's really, really beautiful. It's really, really well written, but it's like so much slower and more, I don't know how to describe it. It's like exists somewhere in the Bermuda Triangle between like Nova, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and Star Trek. Like and so there were all these paperback omnibuses from Dark Horse, and they used to be so cheap. Back in the day in 2010, when I first started, you could get those paperback Dark Horse omnibuses, and they're the ones that are like not quite full size. I just had one around here recently, and I think I probably shelved it somewhere better because I don't see it now. But it's out of reach. But they used to be so cheap, you could just get them anywhere for like $5. And so I have FOMO for missing them then. And then there have been some reprints, but they recently did a Kickstarter, and the Kickstarter did not ship to New Zealand. So part of me was absolved, or maybe it did and it was ungodly. It was it either didn't ship to New Zealand or it shipped to New Zealand, but it was like $200. I forget which, but it was not practical to get in New Zealand. And so I'm like, oh gosh, is it going to come out in the direct market? And so then I think somebody asked DCBS and In Stock Trade, and they're like, no, we're not getting it. So I'm like, so it's something I've always wanted to read that I already had FOMO for missing out on in one format. And now it's like, and not like, is this, and it's in the perfect omnibus format, and they say they're going to keep going. So it's like, am I just going to miss out all over again? This is one that I suspect in the next year, somebody will have it for sale somewhere on eBay and offer New Zealand shipping, and I will pay an obscene amount of money to get it. I just think I will. So that's why I have FOMO for it. And James Road has those small trade paperbacks from Dark Horse, and I could never justify upgrading the OG. I'd be happy to just get those. Honestly, if I could find them all for cheap on eBay or even here in New Zealand, I would just buy those and I would be happy. It's not that I need it oversized, but also I'm kind of like, since I haven't read more than a couple of issues for this, what if I get it oversized and I'm just not into it? And then am I ever going to be able to sell it in New Zealand? So you're understanding, a huge part of my FOMO is like, also, do I want this in my house, right? Like I have so many comics in my house and I'm towards the middle of life right now, and it's like, if I'm not going to read them, or if I do read them, I don't want them in New Zealand, they're just going to get thrown in the trash. Like, am I ever even going to be able to sell them? CGN is the different covers, but they don't ship to me. Okay. Max saying turning this into a New Zealand trouble mentioned drinking game was a bad move on my part. Okay, let's look at number 32. We're not even halfway. The Golden Age Marvel Comics Omnibuses Volume 1 and 2. This is something that I didn't used to be as interested in, because I think there was a time in my life that I just was like, I just wanted all my X-Men. Now that I've completed that and I've done all the work that I've done in Crushing Crisis and with Near Mint Condition, I've turned into a little bit more of a comics history nerd / buff, not as much as Taylor talks comics, but anytime there's an and now having my Golden Age Wonder Woman books, I do think that if I had it all to do over again, I probably would get a lot of stuff that was like Golden Age or Atlas Age just to have it, because these issues have so many different stories in them, and because of the way they're split up, sometimes you're never going to get another chance to own them completely. I probably could snag this, and the volume 2, I think we found out on the FOMO, on the What's Out of Stock show, or what was that called? Niche show. I think we found out that volume 2 was the more expensive one, but I probably could get this from eBay. Like, this is doable. It's not totally outside of my reach, and it's like, do I want it just for that historical having it? Marvel's probably never going to do a volume 3, so part of me is like, it's never going to be completed, but are just having 2 of them enough? Or is seeing DC do all this Golden Age and seeing them do DC Fine is going to like spur Marvel into action, and maybe we get more? I don't know. But I do think I should have bought them, and I do have a specific interest in getting more Golden Age stuff now. So I should probably get them. Answering, Matt, I'm psychic, so I already knew to answer your question with the next slide. Golden Age Captain America Omnibus Volume 1 and 2. Now here's the thing. Again, I do not collect Captain America in oversize. I do not have a single, maybe I have one, like the original release of the Sentinel of Liberty 1998 series. Was that oversized? I might have like one oversized Captain America, because it was the only format that like those comics were in that I could get before Epic's collections existed. But I do not buy Cap in oversize. I'm immune. I've never been tempted by Brubaker. I've never been tempted by Grunwald. He's not an oversized character for me. But is this the only way we're ever going to get this material? I would love, especially because Kid Crisis sat down and read Wonder Woman Golden Age, I think the next thing to do is read Captain America Golden Age. I think there's a huge, huge historical value to these comics. And this is one that maybe one day Marvel really would do a volume 3, but are we ever going to get through all of this? I don't know. Are they going to see the DC Finest and finally do it in Epic? I don't know. Could we get a compendium? I don't know. Right now, what exists is this, or the Masterworks, and it just would be more feasible to get the 2 of these. So could I just get the 2 of these and have them? I do know from having Golden Age Wonder Woman here that it's fun to just open. It's fun to just reference. Like, I always am adoring my Golden Age Wonder Woman. And I think in my mind, I've built up that like Golden Age Cap is the Golden Age Wonder Woman. Like, it's the Golden Age Marvel book that has the most social commentary to make about the world and war and all of those things. And so I just really kind of think I shouldn't have skipped them. But again, since I don't buy anything oversized Cap, it's like, well, you have no reason to own that, except for it's the only way to get your hands on this Golden Age material. Dr. Zero has less interest in Marvel Golden Age than DC's Golden Age. In a way, I have more because it's so underexposed. Like with DC, the Golden Age is known, it's discovered, it's existing. With Marvel Golden Age, it's like, well, who knows? Like, so few people have even ever read it. It's so rarely been collected. Okay, number 30. This is just me being a dumbass. And DC will reprint it. I know they will. So originally, when DC was releasing Perez Wonder Woman in oversized hardcover and omnibus, they released War of the Gods. The core 4 issues of War of the Gods is in the Perez Volume 3 omnibus. But this was the whole crossover. I like this crossover because I like Greek mythology and I love Wonder Woman and I like George Perez. So the idea of getting this as a whole omnibus, even though I don't buy DC events in omnibus, was attractive to me. But at that time, I was boycotting the Wonder Woman omnibuses because I didn't like how they were mapped. Because it skipped non-Perez stuff, such as the John Byrne Wonder Woman Superman story from Action Comics 600. After they released the Byrne omnibus, which is somewhere just below me here, I don't know, somewhere. After they released the Byrne omnibus, and they put that in there, I realized, oh, that's how DC does things. They keep things still in the plastic because I'm going to read it once I get the third Perez omnibus, which is going to be reprinted. Sorry, I'm ADHDing on you a little bit. Let me bring it together. So I was immune to this for a long time because I didn't have any of the other Wonder Woman omnibuses. So why would I have this, right? But then I learned 2 things happened. A, DC put out that Byrne omnibus, and I was like, oh, they will hit everything in their mapping eventually. It's not going to miss anything. It's just going to be broken up a little bit outside of the perfect reading order. And then B, they started reprinting the Perez omnibuses, which I started buying because I was like, okay, now I feel bad that I skipped them the first time around. I'm going to buy them this time around. And now I have every oversized Wonder Woman there is, except for this. So, and it's one of those ones that wasn't that popular and it existed forever and it was in my cart forever along with the original Perez ones, but I skipped it at the time and now this one is harder to get a hold of. So now I have FOMO about it. I will absolutely buy it if they reprint it. I do think DC is slowly making their way through collecting events in omnibus, and it's kind of wild that this was one of the first 90s events that they ever collected in omnibus. They collected this in omnibus, I think, before 0 Hour. So I do think they probably will reprint it eventually. Plus, it's not the most sought after book, so I probably could find a copy. But yeah, I do feel pretty dumb for not just getting it when I had the chance, and now I feel like a dummy. I'm good without War of the Gods. Cool Angel Volume 3 was enough for me. Yeah, it's not the best collection, but it's Wonder Woman headlining and her continuity headlining event, so I feel like I should have it. Would they put this in the DC Finest event line? Absolutely. Yes, they'll only put issues 1 through 4 of the actual War of the Gods in the DC Finest line for Wonder Woman, and then this would be its own probably 2-volume DC Finests. Yes, okay. Number 29, Marvel Essentials. Now, this is a wide-ranging one to name, and I do have a lot of Marvel Essentials. And again, when I started in 2010, you couldn't give these away. There were a couple of them that were harder to find, but especially by 2012, they were getting hard to find. In 2010, they were like, you could get them for a dime a dozen, almost literally. And they collect so much of Marvel in black and white. And the black and white is not gray toned black and white, except for the 90s ones. It's like literal black and white, original inks, or at least it's been computerized such that it looks like original inks. I have some of them. I have Claremont X-Men, the first couple, and anything that was really obscure that before Epics existed, I was like, we're never going to see this in print again. I have Spider-Woman, I have Dazzler, I have Power Man and Iron Fist, I have Luke Cage. I think I have Marvel Horror. I'm trying to think of like what I've remembered, what I can remember reading in black and white. Those are the big ones. And I have a couple more where I was like, oh, we might never get this, so I ought to get it in Essentials. But I didn't get all the Essentials. And looking back, they were so cheap and they were so easy to have. And I could have just bought every single one of them probably for under under $400. I could have had every single one of them. And now they're unattainable. Like, this will be a FOMO that will always be FOMO'd because there's never going to get a chance. There's never going to be a chance. They're never going to be reprinted. Marvel doesn't do this format anymore. They get more and more expensive as the years go on because there's fewer and fewer copies in circulation. I just missed my shot. Even if I didn't own all of them, I wish I'd gotten like just maybe like Spider-Man, Thor, like the characters who I really have a personal relationship with. Daredevil, I'm very happy to just have them in color. Avengers, I don't know if I care, but there are some Marvel Essentials, especially for how cheap they were, that I look back now and there's so many things that were so cheap in 2010 and 11 and 12 that I just wish I'd taken the shot on them. But honestly, my rules of what I collected were so much stronger then because I didn't have the collection I have now. And so if I had money, the money was for like getting the next X-Men book that I was missing. I was catching up on everything. I used to have a spreadsheet that was like 1,000 rows of all the stuff I was looking for and wanted to catch up on. So, you know, getting Thor Essentials just did not play into that at all. Now I look back and I'm like, it would have been nice to buy them. So this one will kind of always be on the list. It will always be the one that got away and I'll always feel that way. Here's the next one. So let me explain what this isn't. This is not Marvel's mid-80s comic books of Dune illustrated by Bill Sienkiewicz. You can get a collected edition of that. That's what I thought this was for a long time. And it's not, even though it's in 3 books, it is not an adaptation of the 3 original Dune novels. It is a 3-part adaptation of the original Dune novel. Dune is a really important novel to me. I've read it many, many times. I have a lot of memories of friends. In high school, my whole friend group went through a Dune phase. Like hardcore. We like all read it and we were all into it. And so to me, it's like very, very foundational. Other people were into Power Rangers. We were into Dune, which maybe tells you a little bit about my friend group. And these, you can get this as a slipcase of like normal edition books. And could I just buy that? Yes, I could. But there are these beautiful deluxe collector's editions. They're in an even bigger hardcover. They have these beautiful, beautiful textured covers and they're in slipcases and they're 3 different colors. And they would be really expensive to get in New Zealand. But I don't know, is Dune popular enough that they will always, always, always keep reprinting these collected editions that are deluxe collector's editions? Probably not. They'll probably just reprint the normal one forever. So I probably can always get this material, but I don't know if I'll always be able to get this format. And it's been in my cart forever. And I'm like, I do tend to really like adaptations of classic novels as comic books because I'm more apt to read the comic book one than the novel one. I'm very slow to read prose these days because I've just got so much going on and so many comic books to read. So like there is a slipcase, but to the best of my ability to figure out, Axel, the slipcase is not the same format as these deluxes. I think the slipcase of 1 through 3 is the normal versions in a slipcase. I could be wrong, but I think that is the case. Lance picked up some essentials for Fantastic Four, X-Men, and Spidey earlier this year. Yeah, they're so beautiful, and Dune I have like an emotional attachment to. So it's not like Lord of the Rings I like, and I live in New Zealand, but like this as Lord of the Rings would not be as attractive to me as Dune. Dune I just have a relationship with. So that's why that one's on my list. Oh, other direction. Okay. I'm always on my Vampirella bullshit. So here's the thing. If you regularly watch me, you will recall that I imported the singles to this from America and got these little binders to keep them in so I could finally read the singles of the 1990 series of Vengeance of Vampirella because it's the only 90s Vampirella that Dynamite had never collected. I have all the Masters books. They collect around this series. This series had not been collected. But the reason I was even aware of the series is because I read this 2019 series by the original author that extended that original universe with exactly the time span that had gone by, I guess like 25 years in between. And back when Dynamite used to ship all of their stock to Diamond, every Vampirella book was always available constantly. What Dynamite's sales strategy was they shipped all of their stock to Diamond, and then they would pay to relist them all as restocks in the Diamond catalog. And so you could reorder them all of the time, and it would like pop up fresh in the Diamond catalog so people would see it, and then it would be on DCBS again because DCBS got stuff from Diamond. And In-Stock Trades knew that they were in stock at Diamond, so they were always available on In-Stock Trades too. So I went through years and years of just saying, I'm going to get around to Vampirella. I'll make the guide eventually. When I do the guide, I'll do all this because then I'll understand. Like, it just was like, it seemed like something I could put off eternally. Then the Diamond bankruptcy happened, and all of a sudden, Vampirella, not so easy to get a hold of, and all of that backstock that previously was at Diamond just evaporated because Dynamite can't get their hands on it. Now, I think I looked up volume 3 of this last night, and it's gone for like 80, 90 bucks, because now all of that backstock that was sitting around that people could eternally buy is gone, and so they all have become super limited now. Now, part of me knows I do not buy a lot of comics after 2015. It's not just the Marvel thing. I really, in order to preserve my sanity and the shape of my bookshelves, I really try not to buy stuff after 2016 unless I know that I'm going to reread it repeatedly. That's why I have Wind. That's why I have Lumberjanes. That's why I have Memo. All the books that I like reread a lot, especially with the kid, I will get physical. I don't get physical, but I don't have Vampirella because I'm like, how often am I going to reread Vampirella? But now that I have the singles of the 90s stuff that this continues, I'm like, well, when I finish the 90s stuff, I'm going to want to keep reading into this. The thing is, I don't think the demand for this is actually super high. I think it's just artificially high because they all disappeared all at once. I bet if I set an eBay alert and sat for long enough, somebody will have all 4 of these and it'll be like 30 bucks, but will it ship to New Zealand? So I was a dummy. And I missed out, luckily, just before all that Dynamite stuff and Diamond stuff happened, I bought the Dynamite Years omnibuses 1, 2, and 3. I don't think I ever got 4. I don't know why. I think I just was like, oh, maybe it's time to finally buy those. Oh, because it was when I got these. When I got the singles, I was like, maybe I should just buy those omnibuses and have them, because then I'll have like mostly all of Vampirella like through 2010 or 2011. So I thought to buy those. I'd be really upset if I also didn't have those. But yeah. Those Snigalski Vampirella books, says Cedric and Ellen, are fantastic. I'm looking forward to the last issue of Vampirella Armageddon. Yeah, Snigalski, who was the original writer, sorry, hair stuck to me, was the original writer of this in the 90s, came back and wrote it again, and that's why it's a continuation. So these half-screen ads are killing me. Oh, I saw the number of viewers drop really precipitously. Is it because you're getting weird ads? I don't know. Half-screen ads? So which half of the screen? Okay. And Blink, which I almost read as Bikini Kill, it's Blink NL, said, I wish Dynamite would release true Vampirella omnibuses. Vampirella, fun character, but completely undoable in any form of film. Just can't be done. And if it is, it's direct to DVD and unworthy of seeing. I need Lady Death. It's a beautiful book. Lady Death is going to get an omnibus Kickstarter from Chaos Comics. Lady Death would have been in my top 10 of FOMO, but now I know they're going to collect it. They just did the Evil Ernie one, and that was one that I was like, I don't care how much it costs. I don't care the shipping. I'm having it, and it's coming to New Zealand because I know the next one will be Lady Death, and I want that. Okay. Oh, bottom half. That's super annoying. Okay. We're not even to the top half, so let's keep going. The Batwoman Omnibus. Here's one that I know that I love. I've reread it multiple times. And Batwoman, since there's so little Batwoman, I'm willing to say I would have it in oversized format from DC. Because I just love her so much. She's a female hero, a queer hero. It's written by Rucka. It's got J.H. Williams. Like there's so much attractive about it that it's something that I really want. But I have it in trades because I originally was picking it up to read in trade as it was coming out all the way through DC New 52. So there's 2 reasons I never bought this originally. And there's about to be a reprint with this cover. So the first reason is it stops halfway through DC New 52. And I'm like, well, it's never going to collect the rest of New 52, which is bad, but I don't like incomplete things. And I never have had anything New 52 in Omnibus because I generally don't care. So I was like, it's just not worth it. There's no reason, right? And the other thing is, previously the cover of this was fucking hideous. It was her like swinging towards the camera with her boot out in front, and it had this like weird scripty text on it. It just was like the most fugly thing I'd ever seen. So since it was incomplete of New 52, even though it's the complete J.H. Williams, and because it was fugly, I was like, I don't feel bad about skipping this. It's fine. But I love Batwoman. It's a book I will read and reread. It's absolutely gorgeous. I love J.H. Williams' art. I would love to have it in oversized. I actually do have a little bit of it in oversized in the original hardcover of Elegy, which at the time was really hard to track down. And this has all of that inside of it. And so they're reissuing it with this bomb-ass cover. And now DC is a little bit more into printing New 52 stuff. They printed Supergirl, they printed Catwoman, like even their women of New 52 they're printing. So I think if this omnibus does okay, they will finally put out another Batwoman omnibus that has that crappy stuff and also maybe has all the way into her 2018 series by Marguerite Bennett, which again, I usually don't collect anything that new in my collection. I don't have anything Wonder Woman past 2010, but would I make an exception for Batwoman? I don't know. So it feels like a slippery slope. Like if I buy this, I'm opening up the owning physical DC and hardcover past the 2011 zone, and that could be threatening. But I love this so much that it's probably just something I ought to do. Ali Nasri saying Rucka is great. Badness of the Wisp saying yes, get the omnibus reprint. It comes out next month. Cruel Angel saying I'm still on the fence about getting the reprint. I'm getting the new series, but that's all I've read about. Oh, Cruel Angel. Her original stuff, the original Rucka run is like some of the best DC comics of the 2000s. It's peak. This is not just Crisis Likes Women Heroes. This is not just Crisis Likes Rucka. This is like truly, it may be the best run of comic books that DC had in the 2000s. I feel very strongly about that. It's really good. See you next Tuesday. Batwoman Insta-Buy. I love this character. Gracie Patrick loves this cover. Rodimus Pride skipped due to the horrible foot cover, and now this new cover is calling my name. Same. Jason L. Wright saying I love Batwoman. The back half of the series is rough. Yes, that I agree with. Renee Montoya and Kate are some of my favorite comic couples. And Derek saying 14 volumes total is what's being guessed right now for all of the books in the Kaz library, and I will pay to ship every one of those books to New Zealand. I don't know. After I have Evil Ernie and Lady Death, I don't know how excited I am about like Nyx and like Purgatory and all that. We'll see. But what I really want is Lady Death. Lady Death, we could get into a whole stream about Lady Death. Lady Death, I don't even know how much they're going to collect. Are they only going to collect the original Chaos comics? Are they going to then collect like the in-between reboot of Lady Death? Do they have the rights to collect medieval Lady Death? All a mystery. So we'll see. Okay. Logan Wayne missed out on this the first time and was ecstatic when the reprint got announced with a much better cover. Superjob pre-ordered it. Great. Everybody loves this. Pretty much we have a rare unanimous vote from the chat that everybody loves this. The first print of top of my list for a custom jacket. Northlake Ghost saying, yes, I love this one. Badger saying, I need to pick this one up. My dream is for Williams and Blackman to finish their proper last two issues and release them Veitch style. Everybody's excited about this. Pudding Tame says, I got the boot cover. We all have our kinks. And Xbox Degrees says, I have the original omnibus and I want this new cover. Okay, well, I think I'm going to get this then. Since it's rare the entire comment section unites about anything on this channel. So other than my hair. So if everybody says that you got it, maybe I'm going to get it. Okay. Now we're finally to the top half. Speaking of Greg Rucka, have you ever read this? Because I have, and it is awesome. It's about, I forget, it's been a while now, but is she a cop or like a ranger? And she goes to an Antarctic base. And so it's got like and it's like a little bit of like a locked room mystery, and it's like a little bit of a survival thing. Steve Lieber on art. It's really, really cool. It's all in black and white, and it really makes use of the white because she's in this whiteout condition. It's such a cool comic. And at the time, I think I read it after I got to New Zealand. And after I read it, I was like, oh, I would really like that on my shelf. And I like cursorily looked to see if it would be available. And it was like kind of hard to get a hold of. And I was like, fine. But it's one of those ones that I always, like, every time I think about it, I go on eBay and I look. And I think eventually they'll reissue it somewhere. Like Rucka's, there's always sales in Rucka's name. So maybe at some point they'll just reissue it and I'll snap it up. But it's one of those ones, much like Concrete, that I eventually just bit the bullet and bought all of these Concrete Digest, that I just get very wistful. And from time to time I put together an eBay search and I'm like, oh, I might get it. Dr. Zero has the first trade. Badger Stump says, I didn't know this Rucka book on FOMO'd. Oh, it's fantastic. Really, really good book. Just really, really good Rucka, what he does best. Everything you like about Rucka in like that kind of like Batwoman, Gotham Central mode here, but with like just a real life normal person in an extreme environment. I see people just talking to Chubby Ray, but I missed, oh, here it is. I'm selling my original print of Batwoman to buy that one. So yeah. And also some continued Lady Death commentary. Okay. Let's continue to 24. Okay. I love Steven Universe. We are the crystal gems. We always save the day. And if you think we can't, we'll always find a way. That's why the people of this world believe in garnet, amethyst, and pearl. And Steven, I loved him. Kid Crisis is laughing at me from the adjoining room. I love Steven Universe. We have all of the trade paperbacks of the ongoing series of Steven Universe. If you've never seen it, it's a kid's show, but it's like the best kids cartoon I've ever seen in my life. It's so funny. The music is good. It deals with queerness in an awesome way. I would rewatch it any day of the week. I would watch it straight through beginning to end. I revere it. Rebecca Sugar, the creator of it, is a genius. I love everything about it. When I saw that, so I have the ongoing series completely. I mean, Kid Crisis has it. It's hers. But there were also a series of original graphic novels. And when I saw this one, that Steven is not on model. It's not, it's like if you see somebody drawing Homer Simpson and he doesn't look like Homer Simpson. And neither is that Connie, right? That's her name. They're not on model. So I was like, oh, well, part of the fun of reading an adapted comic of a cartoon is seeing all of the characters more or less on model. And since they looked off model, I kind of just put it out of my head like, I don't need to buy these. I'm just going to focus on the ongoing series because it's on model and the characters look like themselves, right? But then I saw interiors to this and they're on model in the interiors. It was just a cover difference. And there were a ton of, I think there's 4 or 6 of these original graphic novels. And I should have bought them. And the thing is, Steven Universe was never, I don't think it was ever licensed in New Zealand. So you could see it like on, if you had a Cartoon Network thing to watch in New Zealand, but it was never distributed here. So a lot of these books, you ever see those codes back when we all ordered from Diamond that after the name of something, it would be like parentheses C1-O-1 or something. Those codes meant could it be sold internationally, or there were like rules for like where you could distribute it. And Steven Universe, you often couldn't even order here because I guess like the license for Steven Universe didn't extend to New Zealand. So these were on in stock trades for a little while, but I didn't think I wanted them, so I totally ignored them. Now I'm like, you dummy. Now the great thing is, even though Steven Universe is mega popular and lots of people buy it and are interested in it rather, I don't think these would be super hard to get. I just need to set up an eBay search and like look for a lot on eBay, but it's going to be a pain in the ass and I'm going to have to pay a lot of shipping, and I should have just got them at the time. Gosh darn it. And so it's like a FOMO where I missed it, and now I'm continually feeling FOMO for not getting it. And for all of you suckers in the United States, you probably can go on Amazon and get these for like $2 each. So once again, it's like, oh, do I actually need to just get these for $2 each, send them to somebody like Omar or Jess or somebody, and then have them put them in the mail to me. Good night to Elliot the MB. Thank you for stopping by, and you can come back and watch the back half of this some other time. Okay. Number 23, the War of Kings Omnibuses. And I know this is a FOMO for many of you as well. It was one of those ones we all had in our cart, and we're all like, do I really want them? And then they went out of print, and then they've never reprinted the Road to War of Kings or the Realm of Kings, which is the aftermath of War of Kings. I think they only reprinted War of Kings itself. Here's the thing. I own all of this, but it's all in such different format because War of Kings itself was an OHC. Then Marvel put out some trade paperbacks of the X-Men stuff from War of Kings. So it's on the shelf. It's like boop, 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 boop. Like it's all different formats. So, and I have the original oversized hardcovers of Annihilation and Annihilation Conquest, which nominally comes before, not even nominally, comes before this for half of the story that's not presented here in this prelude. So it would really make a perfect event shelf. I don't know why I didn't get them. I guess I was like, well, you already have them in paperback, but not just paperback, all these kind of different mismatched formats. And so the fact that this collects all of the material together, the X-Men stuff, the Inhuman stuff, all into one place and kind of put, has it logically in one format in 3 books that are perfect on the shelf. I'm not going to spend crazy aftermarket prices on it, but if they reprint it, I absolutely would pick it up. And I know a lot of people feel that way about this. Luke Warwick is stalking Prelude and Aftermath on eBay. Don't know why I didn't get them when they were available. That's the thing. Everybody feels that way. There's like hundreds of people that feel that way. So you got to really fight for these. And for me to fight for them that hard and to be from New Zealand, it's like, I'm just going to wait. And hopefully they eventually will get reprinted. Dr. Zero saying top 5 most wanted reprint for me. Okay. Next, something you all can buy and I could buy right now. Right now, you can go put this in your cart. It's not hard to get. It's Superman, the post-crisis and Triangle omnibuses. So there are 2 post-crisis omnibuses that come before Triangle, and then we have, what, 3 Triangle omnibuses either already existing or solicited, and we're waiting for 4th, I want to say. And then eventually there will be 2 John Byrne omnibuses coming probably starting next year. We don't know for sure, but guessing. And then we'll have this perfect stream of Superman from 1987 and onward. At that point, we'll have the 2 Byrne books, the two books that come before Triangle, which I think is like, I forget what they're called. And then Triangle itself. I love Triangle Superman. I've talked about it many times in the channel recently. I not only like it for its editorial consistency, because it's good. It's really good. It's one of the best executions of a single character with multiple titles that has ever been done. And I have affection for it. And I read it at the time. But I don't collect oversized Superman. But part of why I don't collect oversized Superman is because this is the only Superman I care about. I don't care about 2000 Superman. I don't care about pre-1987 Superman. This is my Superman. So like my rule that I don't buy oversized Superman is kind of antiquated because it was a rule that was invented before these existed. But it's coming out slowly but surely in DC Finest. They have cracked into the Triangle era, and they already did a John Byrne DC Finest. So like I could just have it all in Finest and stay away from it being oversized. It'll have all of the same material. There won't be any difference. And it's all going to be digital as well. So, and will I ever really sit down and read it in omnibus? I am famous for not reading omnibuses quite as often as I will read a paperback version. So if I have it in DC Finest and an omnibus, will I even read it, the omnibus, or will I only read it in DC Finest, right? So, but it's right there. And it's probably going to stay evergreen. I bet DC is going to try to keep it in print because it's just the Superman. But part of me is like, should I get it? Should I just get it? Plus, it's going to take forever to get it all in DC Finest. We're already into like 1994 in the omnibuses. It's only until 2001. Like omnibuses, and it seems like they're going to keep putting out 1 or 2 a year. Omnibus is going to get there way faster. Should I just do it in omnibus? This is my Superman. I just don't know. I just don't know. I don't know that there's a right answer or a wrong answer. It's money that I don't necessarily have to spend. It's space on my shelf I don't necessarily have to shelve. And so I'm just debating. Gracie Patrick loves the Triangle era. Blink saying, get the Triangle omnibuses. Jamie saying, can you read any of the Triangle era series on their own? Are they all intrinsically connected? Some of them sometimes kind of have their own plot line, but they all still read in a circulating monthly order. So it's different than Spider-Man from the 90s. Exile and Brainiac Reborn are the name of those 2. Thank you, Gracie Patrick. Batnessa is getting the soonest. Blink is saying, bend the rules. Jean Remy is saying, I'm debating getting the 3rd Triangle Omni or not because I already own Death and Return. Dr. Zero, so much double dipping with Death and Return. Well, I don't have the Death and Return Omni. That was my FOMO forever. And I'm like, because it was so cool and I love Death and Return, I'm looking to my right here because somewhere, oh, I probably shelved it down that way, is I got it in Compendium. And I was like, this is perfect. I love Death and Return, but I didn't need to have the Death and Return omnibus. And it just was, I don't buy Superman omnibus. What would it go next to on my shelf? Like it just didn't feel like it had a home on my shelf. But the Compendium, there's plenty of things to put it next to. And it has all the same material. So I got the Compendium. So I don't, even though this would double dip the Compendium, I just don't have that double dippy fear because to me they're 2 different formats. Richard saying my only oversized Superman is Morrison. Happy to wait for DC Finest to cover Triangle. Right, which I could do. The thing is, for some of these FOMOs, if I just sit and plank, you know, and like don't touch the mouse, don't touch the bank account, I'll be fine. Just like with Black Panther. Like am I Moon Knight? Am I sad that I missed the omnibuses? Yes. But do I already have all that material because I just was patient and it all came out in Epic and now I have it anyway? Yes. So if I just plank, I won't have to be fear of missing out. But just, I mean, I just loved it. I because I have so much affection for it, it really is tearing at me. Okay, here's one I bet you've never heard of. It's Captain Canuck. Now we know here's things that I'm obsessed with. Weird 80s indie comics that turned into cultural phenomenon. Any shared universe. Indie superheroes. I love indie superheroes that just exist off on their own. So there was classic Captain Canuck, which was collected in this complete edition, which I'm sure I could hunt for and get off of like Alibris or eBay or something and have it. But then there was Captain Canuck that was being released by Chapter House, a comic publisher that was like a modern, and I think it like acknowledged some aspects of his continuity, but like mostly was new. So it was kind of like a new 52-ish version of Captain Canuck that was happening in the 2010s. And I read a lot of it and it was fun. I love indie superheroes that exist on their own. It's just a particular kink of mine. But I was reading it digitally because it was after I got to New Zealand and I was perfectly fine just reading it digitally. And I never thought to get it physically. But then Chapter House like stopped publishing it, and the last couple ones kind of went astray, and I never picked up this original. And I'm like, oh, especially now that my collection includes things like The Tick and Concrete and Savage Dragon and like a lot more of those indie heroes, I'm like, I probably would have liked to have it physically. But the thing was, Chapter House was such a small publisher that they did not print a lot of those trade paperbacks, and they were if you didn't pre-order them, they kind of like never went up for sale anywhere. I mean, they were on Amazon, and they're one of the ones that they're obscure just because there's not a lot of copies, not because there's a lot of demand. So I would at least like to get the Captain Canuck Complete Classic Edition, because I love the idea of having it all in one space. But I kind of want all of those modern ones too, and that would just be like so annoying to chase down. Yeah. So has anybody, out of curiosity, what falls under weird 80s comics that turned into phenomenons? Tank Girl, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. What else? I mean, anything, Toxic Avenger, so 80s and kind of 90s, but like any of that stuff, or even Miracle Man, stuff that was like underground to a point, and then when comics exploded, they were like lifted by the explosion and then kind of got erased by the extremification and the image of it all in the 90s. So like all of that kind of weird stuff is within, yeah. Is Captain Canuck just Guardian? I mean, pretty much. He looks like Vindicator Guardian, yeah. Just came home from the Montreal Comic Con, and there were quite a few of these Captain Canuck editions there. I considered buying them, but decided to pass. Blink saying, I found a lot of old Captain Canuck comics in shops in Canada. I bought one issue and never heard of it on a trip. Yes, I think I'm one book away from having all of the Tick, so I finally could do a Tick reading order. Yeah, the Tick. I have a free comic book day issue of Captain Canuck, and so said it twice. I was like, somebody else does too. Edwin Billiot has some of the early issues. Who would win in a fight, Captain Canuck or Vindicator? Canada would lose. We can't see their heroes fighting each other like that. Okay, now we're into my top 20. This is a book that many of you own, that's for sale right now, that any of us could buy. It's The Batman by Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale Omnibus. It has all of their major stories together, including Long Halloween and Last Victory, and I believe Catwoman When in Rome, right? I love Long Halloween, as many people do. It's a foundational Batman story. I don't actually like Jeff Loeb. I love Tim Sale. That would be blasphemy. I don't actually like Jeff Loeb that much, but I like him with Tim Sale. But here's the thing. I don't buy oversized Batman. I barely had physical Batman ever. Anything. I don't think I had any physical Batman, except for like Hush, just because I wanted to read Hush. That might be it. Maybe I have Arkham Asylum, but that's it until DC Finest. And then when DC Finest came out, I'm like, oh, now I'm going to have a Batman shelf. But that's not oversized. So like, do I want this oversized? I was immune for a long time. Even though I brought it to the Batman Evergreen show, even though I do think it's some of the best Batman stories of all time, I was hugely immune to the siren call of owning this, right? Here's this. This is so stupid, but this is how my brain works. Here's why I don't think, or here's why now I'm like, oh, maybe I want it. Dark Patterns. I loved Batman Dark Patterns so much that if they announce a deluxe of Batman Dark Patterns, because Dark Patterns is another one of these kind of like early year 1.5 Batman stories that fits perfectly in with this kind of vibe and this kind of era. If there is a deluxe oversized, not an absolute, a deluxe of Dark Patterns, I will buy in the same shopping cart Dark Patterns and this. That's just how my brain works. But then, look, this is evergreen. DC's always going to reprint this. It's the go-to omnibus that people are like, get this first as your Batman omnibus. So I don't think it's ever going to truly be gone. But my fear is that if I don't just buy it now, if I don't just buy it now, then one day briefly when we're in between stocking periods of it, am I going to go crazy and then buy it for like $200 somewhere because I feel like I missed it, and then the next day DC's going to announce a reprint? And part of me is like, if it's a book you know you're going to buy eventually, just buy it now. But am I going to buy it eventually? I don't know. Am I going to reread it in this format? Like, this is all stuff that I like reading, but I've always read it digitally, and eventually it might be in DC Finest. DC hinted that maybe this kind of year 1-y material could have a home, not in the main Batman line, but the Legends of the Dark Knight line. Like, but we don't know that for sure. So I kind of am like, like, I just don't know. There's no right answer. Batness is saying, this is the only Batman omnibus I won't get. the reason I don't get it is because someone gifted me all the books that make up the Omni and I read them. Well, that's a perfect reason not to. I only enjoy Loeb when he's with sale. Everything else of his has sucked. Martin Mori saying, my first Batman Omni, the one that made me broke the no Batman Omnis rule, and it was worth it. Pity Ma saying, love Long Halloween and Dark Victory. I got the absolutes as well. Bigger is always better. Superjob saying, let's get physical with Batman. So yes, Ali Nazar saying Dark Patterns was a perfect love letter than this. Goody saying Dark Patterns is better than Long Halloween. I might agree with that. And See You Next Tuesday saying, you almost got me to say the word. See You Next Tuesday saying, I've been reading my comics my whole life. I'm familiar with this character. Not familiar with this character. What exactly is a Batman? Well, you have to use a hyphen. It's actually Bat-Man. No, joking. And Dark Patterns will absolutely get a deluxe, or it will it deluxely get an absolute? That's the question. Because they did it originally in trade paperback. So are they going to jump to deluxe next? Or are they going to jump to absolute next? And Rodimus Prime saying, I will upgrade Dark Patterns in a heartbeat. And Velnid saying that Captain Canuck was created before Guardian. Okay. Next we have Mouse Guard. I've only ever read one complete series of Mouse Guard, which was the newest one, and I don't know what I was expecting, but I was instantly in love. It was one of my top comics of the year last year. And these hardcovers are so lovely. I have two of them here because they're like a square format, so that two of them fit. The thing is that many of them are available, a few of them aren't, and this kind of fits into a similar category to Tank Girl for me, where I just need to sit, I know somebody's done it, I know it's probably on the Wikipedia, but the way my neurodivergent brain works is I just need to sit down and make my own list of the order that they go in, and then I can be happy and buy them. But they're not an IST at all, so I would have to get them either on eBay or Amazon or maybe through local stores here. It seems like they pretty much stay in print, but I would want the hardcovers of them. And it's just, so I need to do that organization step, just like I do with Tank Girl. And then I need to like physically get them to New Zealand. And I don't know how possible that is, but I do think I would really like reading this in physical. And now I'm like, it's on my to read list and I don't have it. So it's like really, really tempting to get it. And everybody loves it. You know, Mouse Guard, wonderful stuff. Mouse Guard is a must read. I love Mouse Guard. Oh, I don't think we've said hello to BMcG 300 yet. And I've only ever read the Mouse Guard free comic book day hardcover, says Dr. Zero. So it's just one of those ones that like this one, I know that I'll read in physical format, and I know that I'm not reading it because I don't have it in physical format. So it's like, when are you going to get it in physical format so you can read it? John Remy saying Mouse Guard is peak. I had my own version of Mouse Guard FOMO with ordering the tabletop RPG of this, which I've also seen. Will it get an omnibus? I don't know that they've ever collected it in more than these individual slices, I think. Nicola saying, I keep holding off on Mouse Guard, hoping one day that there will be a complete Mouse Guard. Yeah, okay. The next one, Valiant Universe. So you've heard me talk about this a little bit before. This is the 2012 Valiant, or Valiant kind of version 2, as some people call it. So when this first started coming out, I was getting it all in paperback. And then I made the mistake, and I've told this story, I think, a year ago on my 2 Read Pile show. I made the mistake of reading Harbinger first, because it was a team, and it was the most like X-Men. And Harbinger's story hinges on a sexual assault, and that is committed by one of the main characters. And I just was like, I like threw it across the room. I'm like, I don't want to read this. Like, why would you start a new comic book universe and still frame it like this in the year 2012? So then there were the Valiant Deluxe hardcovers that were coming out to collect 2 or 3 trades at a time. And for a long time, they were in my cart because for a long time you could get them. And then Valiant did this thing called the Book of Death. It was a special event, and they did retailer only floppy issues that were super limited. And they said they were never going to collect. And I had been buying the trades up until that point, even still. And so I have the initial 2 or 3 trades of like all of the series. And then I was like, well, fuck this. Like if they're not even going to put, I can understand saying we're only ever going to do these in like a deluxe version, but I hate when things are like retailer specific, because what about the digital readers? What about the international readers? What about the people who don't buy floppies? Like, I just think I want retailers to have things that they can sell and do good, but I want everybody to get to experience the story universe. So then I was like, fuck that. However, then when I got to New Zealand and I was bored and it was the middle of the night and I couldn't go to sleep because I hadn't switched my time zone yet, I started finally going back and rereading all the non-Harbinger stuff and discovered that it's all top quality. Then in 2018 and 2019, when I started reading every comic book across the entire industry, and so I was reading all the current Valiant, I discovered it was also top quality. So many of the books, Ray, Bloodshot, X Manowar, every one of them was good from the beginning of the Valiant Universe to the end. And honestly, they stuck the landing. They closed down this universe. The new Valiant that's coming out today is a new kind of rebooted new world of Valiant. So this is the complete story universe. That is the beginning and an end. And I could have had all of it on the shelf in paperback. And I know Alien Books was doing those reprints of like chunky trades of this that had matching spines. I don't care about that. I should have just bought all the original paperbacks. The idea that I could have had this complete universe all on my shelf and that it could have been every single book except for those stupid 4 Book of Deaths and that it's good. Let me tell you, if you're just craving like a good superhero universe and you want it to be a little bit more diverse in the kinds of heroes it has, and Marvel and DC just has too much style inconsistency and quality inconsistency, this is good from front to back. There are no duds. There's like 1 or 2 duds in 10 years of comic books, basically. It's extraordinarily good. And now I look back and I'm like, you dingling, you could have had it. We could have had it all on the bookshelf, all together, a complete universe, all in one place. And I missed it. I missed it. And now it would be so prohibitively hard to put together all of those trade paperbacks, some of which are very hard to find now from New Zealand. But the positive thing is that they do sometimes put this all up on Humble Bundle, all for like 30 or 40 bucks, like all of Valiant. So it's very, very readable in digital. And that is very, very doable. And so that prevents me from going too insane, but I'm always going to kick myself in the butt. Duncan asking, do we ever feel that the cover of the Loeb and Sale Omni is a bad fit for the content? Yes. I don't actually like this cover. I know they're limited because they need a Tim Sale drawing and he's unfortunately not around anymore. But like, I do think that this is just like I know they're trying to, Tim Sale's art is kind of very bright and cartoony and throwbacky sometimes, but it also is very grim and noir sometimes too. And I don't really enjoy the composition of this. I think Batman needs more look space across the top cover. I also think it's weird that it almost looks like he's flying. We don't see him inclined enough to make it look like he's running. I just don't like the composition of it. I never have. And that is one of the reasons that I haven't bought it. So even though some people may disagree with you, including Gracie Patrick. Everybody can have their own subjective opinions about art, but I happen to be on Duncan's side here. With the classic Omnis of Valiant being reprinted by Alien, maybe they'll release this as well. Well, I have all the classic ones, and I've committed to all buying that, but Valiant, I'm telling you guys, if you've never read this and you like superhero comics, just try it. Just go on digital. It's available digitally and read the first 4 issues of this Robert Venditti X Manowar. I'm telling you, Valiant's universe, we're talking about 10 years of comics that was probably 90% amazing and 10% like dud, but not offensively bad. It's really, really good. And the cool thing is that it's like all there for you. Like you can go at any time now and just start reading them and just binge for weeks. Super Jop, I'm talking to you. Super Jop says, I'm bummed I missed their Epic Collection thing, although they never continued those. Yeah, they're never going to get their shit together and reprint all of those, nor do I think there's enough demand in the market to reprint all of them. At the top peak selling after like the initial sales, these were only doing like 9,000 to 10,000 issues a month. And that was just the total diamond amount. So that wasn't even readers. There's not the readership to sustain a reprint line. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So it's not just because Alien Books is terrible and incompetent. It's because I just don't think there's the sales. I think they're trying to sell them. And if they sold as much as they needed them to, they would do more, but it's a very slim profit margin. You know, Wicked, I was thinking of you because they ship, oh, it's over there, but hold on. I'll turn the camera. Eventually you'll see it. All the way over there is my shelf of all of those Valiant hardcovers. And I backed the Harbinger one. Oh, now I have to figure this all out again. I backed the Harbinger one and they sent me a second one, which was kind of in chewed up condition. And I was like, what am I going to do? The library is not going to want this, but it's a perfectly readable book. And I was thinking like, oh, I wonder if Wiccan is actually interested in that because I could just drive it to your house, drop it off because you live in Wellington. So yeah, if you want a classic Valiant Harbinger Omnibus with a slightly chewed up back cover delivered to your doorstep, DM me. Okay. Number 17, The Eternals, The Complete Saga Omnibus. This is one of those times that, again, my rule of like, I only got oversized X-Men, I'll buy it when it's an epic collection eventually. Marvel's not going to make an Eternals epic collection, you dummy. This was your chance. And this is mapped so well. They left nothing behind. It's everything you could possibly want from the Eternals, all in one book, all the way up to 2000. It's perfect. And I don't know why I didn't buy it. Because in my mind, for a long time, it's like, it's going to be an epic collection. And then it's not going to be an epic collection. I friggin' missed it. This one, I'm just going to one day see it for a good price on eBay, and I'm just going to pull the trigger. If there's I have many weak spots, which has been exposed throughout the stream. And one of those weak spots is when there's a book that's perfectly, concisely complete. That to me is the most attractive thing in the world. And this book is, and I should have bought it. Okay. Do any of you own this? So this is Scott McCloud's Zot, which was his independent comic that was, just a much more serious and epic tone than really a lot of the other stuff that Scott McCloud, who's of course the author of Understanding Comics, has created. There's a paperback complete collection that you can buy on Amazon right now. Would it make it intact to New Zealand? I don't know. But there was also a hardcover of that at one point. It's all in black and white, and it was all in hardcover. And I just should have bought it. There was a point that you could still get it, that it was still around. And I was like, I just was so new and I didn't think I cared. And I was like, what is this indie stuff? Because I was just so focused on getting all my X-Men. But now that I realize as the scope of life continues and I know what I'm interested in the long-term owning, I want all of this indie stuff. That's kind of where my focus has shifted, especially now that so much of it is available. But this, which was once available, is not. So should I just get the paperback and shut my mouth? Probably, but part of me is always making an eBay save search for the hardcover. Now there are individual hardcovers too, the first of which was colorized, but then the next two weren't. But this is everything in one hardcover. So I probably, oh, Jason Wright, you own it. Ah, you should send me a picture of it so I can FOMO even harder. And the black and white edition is missing the first 10 issues. This is missing the first 10 issues. Then why is it called complete? Oh, because it's only the things that are in black and white and it doesn't have the color stuff at the beginning. Okay. And Dr. Zero has the Zot paperback in my cart right now. So wait, you guys have to educate me. See, this is why I always make a guide for things usually before I start buying them, because I hate when I start buying things not knowing what I'm jumping into. So if you were to buy this, would you be missing the first 10 issues even if you got the paperback? Because that makes my FOMO even more complex. Cedric and Ellen have heard a lot of good things about this book, and one of them is Dana Andra saying it's a good series, and Badger Stump didn't even know it came in hardcover. And as I said, there's another set of hardcovers that there is the color stuff in the first hardcover. So, okay, clearly I own this. I kept my volume 1 of Zot in color for the full series. Okay, I need to sit down and do some research clearly because I don't understand this as well as I thought I did. But now since you all are loving it and saying you own it, you bastards, how do you all have it? Now I think I'm going to have to figure it out. Okay, number 15. This is one of the most expensive books that you can seek. And it used to just be in my cart. It was in my cart so long that it had been in my cart in cheap graphic novels. And then when I made the switch to in stock trade, still in America, I added it to my cart in there. And did I ever buy it? No. It's Bernie Wrightson's Frankenstein and Frankenstein Alive Alive. They're two different books. Bernie Wrightson's Frankenstein was the full text of the Mary Shelley Frankenstein with, I think, 40 something, like 47 illustrations from Bernie Wrightson. And there are formats you can buy it in, but this was like a beautiful deluxe hardcover format. And it now, if you look for it, it's like $600. And then Bernie Wrightson wanted to keep drawing Frankenstein, so he got together with Steve Niles, and they did a Frankenstein sequel of their own invention called Frankenstein Alive Alive in this same format. You still can get Frankenstein Alive Alive, not at totally exorbitant prices, but the Bernie Wrightson one, when it pops up in this oversized format, is like hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So I'm not doing that, but this one is a true FOMO where I left it in my cart too long. And I was like, oh, I'll do it. It's Bernie Wrightson's Frankenstein. It'll always exist. And I missed it. I love classic horror. Dracula is my main classic horror. Usually anything Dracula, I'll just buy sight unseen. If it's Dracula, I'll get it. But Frankenstein's not my number one, but it's up there. And I should have just bought it. It's not a graphic novel of it. If you want a graphic novel of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, you want to look at the Georges Bess Magnetic Press, which is a full adaptation as a graphic novel. This is the original novel with illustrations. So it's an illustrated novel. It's not a graphic novel. Never knew this existed. There are versions of this, because again, it's just illustrations that you can get, because of course, actually Frankenstein itself is public domain and anybody can print it who chooses to. So there have been people who've licensed, as I understand it, I could be wrong, but there's people who've licensed the Bernie Wrightson illustrations to use in their reprints, but it's never been presented in this format again. And Frankenstein Alive is beautiful, says Martin Moore. Yeah, I feel really, really dumb, really, really stupid for not just getting this. In my defense, I don't think I understood how important Bernie Wrightson was at the point that this was in my cart. Okay, number 14. This, again, one of my weaknesses is a complete everything collection. And these Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles hardcovers from IDW are that. They're every main issue of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which are now getting reprinted in Compendium, and every side series, every one-shot, every mini-series, all collected together in a way that you ought to read them. It's chef's kiss. It's everything you've ever wanted from DC and Marvel, executed perfectly in a beautiful collection format. I've had these in and out of my cart so many times over the past 16 years, I cannot even describe to you. And IDW, I thought they were all going to go out of print because IDW started doing paperback versions, but it seems like they're all still briefly available right now. I think of the 18 of them total, I only want to issue 100 because I don't like Turtles after issue 100. I've read, I think, like 1 to 12, and then I've read like 87 to 100, and I love all of it. And I always said that one day I would sit down and read the whole middle, and it's like so, and I could just get the compendium, but no, I wouldn't, because it's missing so much stuff. I don't understand why they're doing the compendium like they're doing it. It makes no sense to me. I could just get the paperbacks, but these hardcovers exist. They exist and they're in the world. And of these 13, I just went through IST last night. I could get, I think, 10 of the 13 like that from IST. And then I only have to hunt down 3 more. But do I need 13 hardcover volumes of Ninja Turtles on my shelf? Will I reread them, right? A lot of my gatekeeping for what gets let into the house is it the only way that it's available, which this is not the only way that it's available. You can read it all digitally and in paperback and in some of it in compendium. And will I reread it? And I just don't know. However, I do feel very compelled to reread the stuff that I've read already. So I do think that I might reread it. I don't know, but I'll never accept anything in these other than these hardcovers. If I'm going to get it, I'm going to get it in these hardcovers, but there's only so much space and there's only so much money. So part of me is like, can't you just be satisfied with reading it digitally? Goody prefers the Mirage era. Jason Alright says, the Zot Complete Collection does not include the first 10 issues. That explains why the beginning of the book reads kind of weird. Okay, well, now I know that. Gracie Patrick loves these books. 91 Pulp needs these books. Jamie C wants these books, but is getting caught up with X books. Logan Wayne says, these are on my FOMO list. Was really upset the compendium left out the miniseries. Yeah, this is... Barry Leibowitz says, I love the IDW collections. I have all but the last 2, and I wish I got the Transformers ones. Wickens, considering the compendiums, these are also available in paperback. The compendium is the cheapest, quickest way to read it, but it only has the main series, and there's a lot of important side series, so you could get these paperbacks instead. Need them to reprint Transformers, and unfortunately that's not going to happen because, well, unless Skybound reprints them, which maybe they will. I mean, they already reprinted the Marvel stuff. They know the IDW stuff is mega popular. Maybe they will. Ali Nasri loves the Sophie Campbell run. I have been known to call it cottagecore turtles, which is not, it's beautiful, not my favorite storytelling. I don't have any of these, but the spine colors and covers alone have tempted me for years now. IST keeps putting these in the damage section. Yeah, I wonder, are they like hard to ship, or did they get them damaged? Why do they keep turning up in the damage section? But I don't know, man. This is one, right? Wasn't there one already earlier in the show, Once in Future, or it's like, that might just be in my cart the second the show is over. It's just so tempting. And I think that's the thing, Duncan, that it is a big financial commitment, but now I know the shape of it. I know I just want the first 100 issues. So it's 13 hardcovers. I can budget exactly what that is. I can save for it. I can make room on my shelf somewhere. Like, it's very contained. It doesn't feel open-ended. I think at the point previously when they were in my cart, it was kind of like, how long will this run go? Will it go on forever? Will they keep doing the hardcovers? Now they completed the hardcovers. You can get all 150 issues. And at the point that it only goes to 18 and I want the first 13, would I just get the last 5? Yes, I'm that sick. So this might finally happen. It might finally happen. I do really love, I think, again, much like Valiant, if you're like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, that's a cartoon, or I've only ever read the Mirage. If you want 100 issues of a perfect superhero universe that also has like 50 to 60 side issues that are really fun to read. That's this. It is a perfectly coordinated, perfectly illustrated, perfectly executed, perfectly developed superhero universe for 100 perfect issues. Like, and if you are bored with Marvel and DC and you're like, I wish that they would actually like run things for that long, this is what you need to read. Why not get the compendium? So to explain it super clearly, because I kind of danced around it. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was one main TMNT series that started in 2010 or 2011, I forget. But they had a ton of miniseries to the point that there was almost you could almost call it a separate ongoing series worth of miniseries. And sometimes they just explore like something totally ludicrous and off to the side, but sometimes a character will like walk out of the main series and then go and do a whole adventure in a miniseries and then come back to the main series with the ramifications of that adventure. And these hardcovers collect it in perfect release/reading order. So it's like exactly what you need every time you get to it. The compendiums only have the main series. It might also have the initial one-shots because they were like really important. Let me look at Turtles Compendium real quick. But it does not have all the side series. Will it still make sense? Yes. There's only one or two times that the side series has something that's so important that like you will truly miss it. But the this collects the first, they say they will collect 50 issues each and is not going to collect any of the side stuff. So me being me, I would only want it if I could have the everything. For many people, they're going to be fine with the compendium. Just not me. It's not that it's not good past issue 100. I loved what it was to issue 100, which was like starts out as like the origin of the Turtles and then kind of like expands the Turtles world, gets a little bit cartoony, but then gets very serious. And the Mirage comics originally, of course, were like very, very serious, bloody. They were a parody of Frank Miller's Daredevil. And then like brings in sci-fi elements and just builds up to this huge conclusion that feels like a huge Daredevil style conclusion and just fucking sticks the landing for issue 100. Then 101 to 150 is kind of like, what happens after that? It's like, what happens when your friends move to college? What happens when the band breaks up? It's like very like low key, very, very beautiful art, but it's just not, it's like a different thing. And that's why I call it Cottagecore Turtles, because it's very kind of like what happens after your friends go to college, what happens when the band breaks up. And there are good stories in there. And especially because these hardcovers collect everything, volumes 14 to 18, like they have all the stuff that like makes that more fun. But the main Turtles series itself, I don't find that fun after 100. And I'm on the fool saying some miniseries are necessary reading. I have no idea where they left them out. Okay. As a buyer of the TMNT Compendiums, I'm hoping for a compendium. And just one point, or a companion. Yeah, that would be cool. Because one point, they also call a different format compendium. There's hardcover compendiums of the Mirage stuff, but the softcover compendiums are of the IDW stuff. Okay. Yeah, super job saying it perfectly, more succinctly than me, as they've been doing for years now. It's good comics. It's not just good TMT. It's just not good TMT comics to me, at least. Okay, we're almost to the top 10. 13. I love this comic book. It's called Gogor. If you watched me when I did my little experimental version of the pull list back in 2019, I was obsessed with this. It's like this boy in this fantasy world who forms a connection with this kind of elemental swamp thingy kind of thing and goes on adventures with him. It's the quote on the cover here is perfect. I want everyone I know to read Ken Garing's Gogor. It's Jim Henson, Miyazaki, Jeff Smith, who's Bone, and Jack Kirby all in one package. Absolutely true. Brilliant series. 5 issues, totally lovable. Everything wonderful, and then it ended. So I was like, kind of prematurely, like it kind of ends, but it's like you could tell that Garing had more to do. So I was like, well, that's a bummer. And I kind of just thought it'll always exist digitally. Then Garing did a Kickstarter for a follow-up. It's only like 48 pages or 64 pages to finish the story, and it's called The Book of Gogor, but it only shipped to the States. I was like, gosh darn it. Well, I'll just get it from, maybe I'll order it from him afterwards. So now he has it again for sale on his own website, and he's never going to reprint it. Like, it is what it is, and he doesn't ship it outside the US. So this is another one that I before it disappears and doesn't ever exist again, I should just send a copy to Jess or Omar or one of my United States people, and the next time they're going to send me a care package or somebody's coming to New Zealand, they should just put it in their suitcase. I probably should do that today, because once that Book of Gogor goes away, it's going to go away. But that, and if you're in the United States, go buy it from him. But please read that first one. It's like super cheap on IST. It's super cheap on CGN. It's super cheap on Amazon, and it's super, super delightful. It will scratch the itch for you if you love Bone. So this one, I need to just sit on my hot little hands for another year or two, and I think the problem's going to get solved for me. So Buffy the Vampire Slayer, everybody's familiar with the season 8 through season 12 Buffy the Vampire Slayer that was produced with Joss Whedon's participation at IDW and then at the very, very end at Boom. I have all of those in library editions. I think they only didn't do a library edition for like the final year, which sucked, but I have them all, right? This is not that. Earlier, starting in 1998, they were making Buffy comic books that were loosely in continuity with the TV series. The TV series never like respected them. So like if the series went in a different direction, the comic, you know, it ignored the comics. But there's I think like 100+ issues of them. And it wasn't just one stream of comics. There were tons of miniseries, one-shots, half issues, tons and tons of stuff. They were collected together in those Dark Horse omnibuses. Right, it wasn't at IDW. Sorry, it was at Dark Horse, had the Buffy license, not IDW. Dark Horse and then Boom. So Dark Horse did them all in those Dark Horse omnibuses, of which I think there were 7. And there are also Angel comics from this period too. Then the official canonical continuing of the television series happened, and I own all of that. I not only all of it of Buffy, I own all of it of Angel too, which wasn't all in library edition, but I have the standard size hardcovers of that. But I never went back and got this because I didn't even understand that what it was or that it existed. I just didn't fully know what it was. Then when researching Buffy for the Tiger Eyes poll, and I realized how much of it I missed, I also realized that when Boom got the Buffy license to finish season 12, they also re-released all of that material in these legacy edition paperbacks in 6 paperbacks, and it's perfect. It has everything, and I totally missed it. I don't even remember them coming out. I wasn't even aware of it at the time. And then right now to get these, they're like $40 or $50 each on eBay for resale. Like I've missed my shot. But Dynamite has the Buffy license now. And would Dynamite go back to press and do this? It's hard to say. Dynamite is very unpredictable when it comes to recollecting stuff. If anything, it might be a Kickstarter. But will Dynamite do something with this? Probably. So I'm not going to spend that $50 a book to get 6 paperbacks. I'm just going to sit on my hands. And I'm just going to wait to see if Diamond does something with it. Now that I think next week, Kelly Thompson's Buffy series is coming out, and she has played it so tightly to there's something about it that's like a big secret. And she will not say, she did not tell Omar, she hasn't revealed it to anybody. And it's going to be obvious from the first issue. My guess is that it's going to be the version of Buffy where either Dawn always existed or Buffy really dies at the end of season 5 and they don't bring her back. But that would be a weird book to call Buffy. But I really think it's going to interact with the original continuity in some clever way that allows us to tell more stories in the original continuity, but that are like a splinter sliding doors universe of the original continuity. Of course, Boom did a reboot of Buffy that was written by Jordi Belair. This time I'm sure it was Jordi Belair, and it sucked. It sucked. It sucked so bad. So I love my Buffy. Love my Buffy. Crane also loves Buffy. I will not FOMO myself on this. Badger Stump has these legacy books and they're very well put together. That's not good to hear, except for it is. Super Drop. Oh God, do you know how many TV shows I'd have to watch before reading this? Well, it's all threaded within we're about ready for a rewatch in the household, and Kid Crisis might be old enough to watch Buffy with us now. So that's also driving my FOMO. The library editions are my FOMO, says Beam and G. I was buying singles and it was the start of my collection. It didn't occur to me to upgrade, and now they're so expensive, but I do almost own every Buffy comic. Wow. Yeah. But Spike, Faith, Buffy, and Spike, Faith, and Oz live rent-free in my heart forever. That's how I feel about Willow. I think Kendra might still be alive in Buffy. Yeah, the Boom Buffy sucked. The Boom Angel actually was really interesting, but unfortunately, it was tied like concrete around the ankles to the Buffy. Yeah, Jordi Belair's Red Sonja wasn't good either. Maybe they should stick to colors. Yeah. I actually enjoyed one of the Red Sonja series, but I don't love Jordi Belair as a writer. Okay, so we're just going to maybe wait and see what's going on with Dynamite, but I do, now that I know that they're built well, now I want them even more. Maybe I'll just set an email or eBay alert. And, oh, hey, we love new people. Sona's just randomly found my channel and just subscribed. Well, you're in for a lot of ranting and raving, and there's so much lore. We have the lore right back here that I use when I explain the lore, but right now there's no lore, so I don't have to use the lore. You'll catch up. But welcome, and we're so happy to have you here. Let us know what your biggest FOMO is. So, we're almost to the top 10. This is where you mock me. I'll sit here and look cute while you mock me. So when I was getting ready to move to New Zealand, I made it my mission to get all of the original Wildstorm comic books. I came here with everything Wildstorm. And while I was doing that, I thought, hey, while we're at it, let's get everything Youngblood. And I already had all of Glory. So I had a lot of Extreme Press. Extreme Press was what Liefield's line, or first he had Extreme Press and then Maximum Press. Yeah, that's the way that went. So I had a lot of Liefield's stuff. I had New Men. I pretty much got like everything from Liefield's line of Image in floppies. And I remember I got to Maximum Press, which was I think launched in late 95 or launched in 95, I think, or 96. And I got up to Evangeline, which was one of his like kind of baddie heroines, here shown in beautiful chromium cover, which I tried to retouch the contrast so you could actually see the details. And I was like, am I going to buy all of Evangeline in floppies? And these were like quarter floppies in 2016 when I was, or 2017 when I was getting ready to move. And I was like, you know what? That's beyond my line. I don't need them. I don't really have a relationship with this character the way I have with all these other characters. I'm not going to buy them. So then I moved to New Zealand. And then they announced that it got an option for a movie. And all of a sudden, the prices for everything Evangeline went up. And they stopped being quarter comics. And they started being like $20, $30 comics. Because they're pretty obscure. Like there were not a lot of these late 90s Image comics in circulation. So you kind of buying them relies on people not caring about them. And as long as it's something that nobody's ever heard of or cared about, you usually can get them really cheap. But as soon as there's like an artist that's significant or it gets optioned for a movie or they make a cameo somewhere, then all of a sudden the book's crazy expensive because but they're in quarter bins everywhere. So it's kind of like the ones that are online get expensive because people realize there are demands for them. But then if you just went to enough conventions and looked through enough quarter bins, you could probably get it all in quarter bins. But I don't have that because I'm in New Zealand. So part of me is like, oh, I punched myself really hard there. I should have just done it. I should have just done it in 2016. I've missed my chance. Getting singles in New Zealand is such a pain, especially obscure singles. And it's just never going to happen for me. Do I really care? I don't know, but I do feel dumb that I didn't get them at the time. So Cedric and Ellen loves Evangeline and has every issue. Your taste is so fascinating. Edwin Billy won't mock me. I still have the singles. Badger Stump would hoover this up. Okay, now you're all feeling, you're making me feel much, much better. But wait, One Wheel Track still needs to finish Buffy. Stop watching sometimes it's season 4. Season 4 was a rough spot, but season 5 is wonderful. So you're in for a great time picking it back up. So yeah, according to League of Comic Bookies, Buffy the Vampire Slayer #1 got pushed to August 5th. Okay, so we've got a little bit more time. Sona says, I can't think of any FOMO at the moment. I just recently got back into comics after a 15-year hiatus, kind of starting anew again, just picked up all Absolute Batman. Well, let me tell you, there's always more Batman to buy, so I'm sure you will FOMO yourself pretty soon as well. And the thing about variant covers is like they don't necessarily put them in the collections these days. So we just did a show a couple weeks ago where I looked at every Moon Knight cover and we did variants just on the #1s. And there's like dozens and dozens of Moon Knight covers that people have never seen before because they don't even put them in the collection. So that is one bummer about this variant cover explosion, especially in Batman, that like often there's just like no other way to see that stuff. Yeah. Okay, so now we're going into, it looks like there's a hardcover, Evangeline Omni. What? Again, this one kind of fits into my zone of like, I probably would have to sketch out a guide for it first. I had that with Lady Death where I always wanted Lady Death so bad. And then after I sat down and did the guide, I was like, well, now I understand the order it goes in and what's in continuity and what came out when. So it's kind of like, I hate blind buying. I hate just going out into the world and being like, and like trying to get everything. I really love kind of making a list and checking it twice first. And then my list can be your list once I make the guide. Okay, now we're going to the top 10. These are books I think about buying every week. Every week. They're things I check eBay for daily. And the thing is, I've moved a lot of stuff out of the top 10 because a lot of the stuff you've heard me say, I've resisted for years. The top 10 is where stuff comes into the collection. Stuff you've seen me buy and haul recently, the 2099 books, the Valiant Omnibuses, all of Wonder Woman. Those are things that have been in my top 10 that I find I was like, I can't wait anymore. I'm doing it. Even DC Finest. At first I was like, I'm not doing this. I don't trust DC. And then as they kept coming out and I saw DC was mapping them well, my FOMO got the better of me and now I have them all and I'm very happy. So these are things that I am quite. Oh, Concrete, another thing from my top 10 that I finally bought. The Sandman Universe, Omnibuses, Lucifer, Books of Magic, and Dead Boy Detectives. The Vengeance of Vampirella floppies that I showed off earlier. All of those things had been top 10. So these are things that if you see them show up in a haul, it's now your fault because you're a participant. I'm making you culpable by telling you about this, okay? Here we go. Number 10. I had to avoid mentioning this earlier when I was talking about obscure 80s stuff. So I discovered this. It was Gay Comics with an X in 1980 and Gay Comics CS starting from 1992, but it's all the same series. It's an anthology book. So it's all different creators all the time. And the reason I became aware of it is when I made a guide to the Max, one of my favorite comic book series and characters of all time. I discovered that the only Max appearance that he really made outside of his own series was in this. Sam Keith gave, I think, another artist permission to do a Max story in this. It was about Max kind of finding this queer kid who had ran away from home and having kind of like a moment with them, just hanging out under the bridge. And it was in the second to last issue of this, issue 24. Here's what I wrote about it on Crushing Crisis. I do have a guide to the Max for patrons. This issue of this Underground series focused on queer creators. This issue of the Underground series focused on queer creators and stories bore a special cover from Sam Keith and a black and white Max story written by Andy Mengels, who wrote the Troll Halloween special for Image, with art by Derek Gross Sr. and letters by Mac Performa. Though the cover date is fall 1996, the Indecision contents listed as a spring 1997 issue. It's a 5-page story where Sarah, who's the main character in the Max, meets Mikkel, a gay teen who left home. They have a brief heart-to-heart conversation under a bridge in which they both muse about their sexuality. It's an incredible short that feels of a place with the main series, even though the rest of the cast only appears in a brief montage while Sarah summarizes the story. And it's never been recollected, and it's one of the few Max things ever not by Sam Keith. So that's how I became aware of the series. So then I looked at some pirate scans of it because it's never been collected, and I wanted to just know like what is in it. And it was like every major gay cartoonist and every minor gay cartoonist of the 80s and 90s, and I should say queer, not just gay, was creating for this, including a name that you may recognize, Alison Bechdel of Fun Home, which was a Broadway musical, and also the Bechdel test that we apply to movies and media of women that are actually characters that are wholly developed and don't just exist as satellites for men. Bechdel often cartooned for this. Now, I will say that this has some truly explicit stuff in it sometimes. This was an adult comic for adults. But the idea to me that there was this 25 issue that it took, over 15 years to come out, compilation of all of these queer creators. Sometimes there were superheroes, sometimes it was just like life at home stuff, sometimes it was about pride parades, sometimes it was about bears, sometimes it was about sexual discovery. To me, this is like a piece of comic book history that as somebody who cares about kind of uncovering interesting pieces of queer media, like this was happening at the time, and it was kind of like this was before we could see queer characters in comic books. This was before, North Star was gay. This was before all that existed. It is very obscure to get a hold of. There are no lots of this, all 25 issues that pop up in eBay. I talked to, there's this guy, Aaron, on social media. I forget his social media handle. He's got Rom as his face. He's a huge comic books collector. He has like tens of thousands of comics. He said even for him who buys hundreds of issues a week, it took him years to put together a full run of this. I would love to, but it would be just too hard from New Zealand. So the only way I could do it is if I found a chunk of them. Like if somebody was selling all of 1 to 14 or all of 15 to 25, even if it was expensive and I got that chunk, then I think I could like start grabbing the singles and maybe put the whole run together. But getting them one at a time, the shipping for each issue would be like 20 or 30 bucks to get them to New Zealand. So I need to get them in chunks. Plus, much like many comics, and this is a great tip for you if you're collecting any kind of run of individual comics, later issues are always more expensive one by one if you buy them from shops or from eBay or whatever, because they tend to have shorter print runs and people know that it's the last one that people need to put them together. Oftentimes you can get a lot that has that last issue and a couple of issues before it for like the same price as the last issue alone. So it would be crazy to try to buy issue 24 not in a lot because it's got that Max cover on it, and anytime like the Max being in this was the highest profile it ever had. So that issue is super rare and super expensive. But if I could find like 21 to 25 and it had 24 in it, then that would probably be cheaper. Okay. And no, this is not available digitally. This is like true potentially lost media. Maybe some of the stuff that was in it has been collected by certain cartoonists, but just the rights issues and the everything about it, it would be impossible to do any kind of collection or any kind of reprinting. James Moore saying a trans friend of mine has almost all of these. She works at Half Price Books, so has access to a lot of things like this, and is maybe the largest collection of LGBTQ comics I'm aware of. That is so cool. North Lake Ghost says never heard of this, and now I need it. Okay, so this is by, I mean, the thing is, I think the rights are probably owned by all the individual creators. So like Bechdel at some point might have put out a collection of all of their work in this, but I truly don't know. I don't know. Okay, number 9. I bet you didn't expect this to be up here with me. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles hardcover compendiums. Hardcover compendiums. This is the Mirage years. So here's the thing. These are mega expensive. They are gigantic. And they collect the original Eastman and Laird Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which if you've never seen it, it is not what you might think it is. It's very rough. It is a parody of Frank Miller Daredevil. I cannot emphasize that enough. It does not look like the cartoon. It does not look like the IDW books. The thing is, I did my Ninja Turtles guide, and I didn't even have FOMO about this, because it was like, they skip around. Because at a couple of different points, some different creators got involved, and these collected only the Eastman and Laird stuff. So I'm like, I'm free. I only collect stuff that is comprehensive. Maybe can skip one issue, but past skipping one issue, I won't buy it. So I was like, marked safe from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Compendium. But then, for later this year, although it did get delayed, but I'm pretty sure it's still coming out, they announced a gap filler volume of Rick Veitch's issues that this has skipped around, which means there's now very few skipped issues in this, one of which I think is the Dave Sim issue. I don't know. I explained in my Mutant Ninja Turtle guide at some point. But the point is, when that Veitch book comes out, you can have these 3 plus the Veitch book and pretty much have the complete Mirage years. And that is tempting because, again, I love indie comic, kind of the birth of indie mainstream comics as represented in just seeing gay comics and having represented staying here too. By gigantic, do I mean they have a lot of issues or they're bigger than deluxe size? I forget the trim size. Somebody in the chat must have them. I know they're at least omnibus size, but they're from IDW, so I want to say they're library edition sized, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm looking it up right now, but if somebody in the chat knows, please. I can't type. I just tried to type compendium and I typed compondulum. So let's see. The trim size reported by Amazon on this is 11 inches and 11.13 inches. I think that's library size, but I'm not 100% sure off the top of my head. And a normal omnibus from Marvel is 10.88. Yeah, so I think these are library size. Logan Wayne started collecting these in complete collection format, still need to pick up the rest. The original TMT is literally a Daredevil parody. Handel Scrooge saying I have Ultimate Collection 1 to 5. I'm very content with those. I think the thing for me is that because they're putting out the Rick Veitch stuff in this oversized format, now I want them all in this format. Knuckles saying they're Omni size, and I have them. Okay, they're the same size as the TMNT Deluxes. Yeah, same as an IDW Deluxe. So I don't know. They're so expensive to get to New Zealand because they're big, heavy books. But I really would like them. And because the Rick Veitch stuff is going to be in this format too, to me, this is more attractive than getting it in like some other, like the Ultimate Collections. But then Derek saying you're better getting the Ultimate Collections because these don't even reprint the covers and they exclude the backup stories. Oh, see, which I probably have in my guide, but it's been like 4 years since I've done that guide. So I don't even remember. Okay, maybe we managed to knock this out of my top 10. Part of doing this show was like, maybe you could convince me to defomo on some of these. Number 8, Starstruck Old Soldiers Never Die. Now, those of you who watch my channel a lot know that Starstruck is in my to be read pile, and it's really high. And I have the original Starstruck by Elaine Lee. Elaine Lee's son is Brennan Lee Mulligan, who is the DM behind Dimension 20 on Dropout, and also often the DM of Critical Role. And on Dropout, at one point for Dimension 20, which is their live play TTRPG series, they did a season set in the Starstruck universe, which is hilarious and so great. So great. They used D&D 5e rules with a Star Wars modification. It was delightful. This was hard to find to begin with, but now Dimension 20 fans are insane. And I don't mean that in like a pejorative way. They're just mega fans. They will buy anything they can buy. They sold out Madison Square Garden and, you know, a huge arena in Las Vegas. I mean, like the fandom is huge. So to take one comic book that was already out of print, and this has been in my cart since it came out. Like I've always been like, I should probably get that. I've always been interested in Star Trek and I never did. To even see one copy of this pop up now is like just impossible because there's literally tens of thousands of Dimension 20 fans, all who are trying to buy this. It's crazy to me that Dropout hasn't licensed the reprint rights of Starstruck from Elaine Lee, who probably, and Michael Kaluta, who probably own them, and reissues it through the Dropout store, because they could probably sell 20,000 copies through the Dropout store. So nothing's preventing me from reading the original Starstruck. It's on my shelf right next to my bed. It's one of the next things I'm probably going to read. But I would have loved to have had this even before I knew about Brendan Lee Mulligan, even before I knew about Dropout, even before Dropout existed. And now it's like super ultra FOMO, because like, oh, how could you possibly gather it? So Edwin Billiot has the original singles of this. There you go. And going back to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Barry says, one day my prayers of an actual comprehensive Mirage collection, rights issues and all, will be answered, likely when they enter public domain in the far future. Well, who knows? Now that they've made an agreement with Veitch to do him in hardcover, maybe they'll reissue the paperbacks and it'll have those issues. Like, who knows? But anyway, so this is true FOMO. This is still in my cart. This is probably still my original cheap graphic novels cart from when it first came out, because it always looked interesting to me. Little did I know I was going to move to New Zealand and Brendan Lee Mulligan was going to be the most famous DM on the planet. And also, Michael Kaluta, his art is incredible. This comment, I don't know where my mouse went. My mouse just disappeared. Oh, there it is. Michael Kaluta is a master. I have these in singles. I would like the collected edition, though. There you go. Okay, number 7. I'm a dumbass. If you take one thing away from the stream, take away that I'm a dumbass. This was available for so long. They even reprinted the first volume so that they could do volumes 1 and 2 and 3, which I think Omar must have had blackmail material on Marvel to convince them to do that. And for some reason, I'll never know, they put out a Nova and Night Thrasher Omnibus that you better believe is never going to get reprinted. So what I need to do is just buy that Nova and Night Thrasher Omnibus now and just put it in a box somewhere and hold on to it. And then eventually try to track down the first 3, because here's the thing. In my mind, I was like, this is going to be an Epic collection. If you look at all the things that are in Epic, obviously they're going to do this in Epic. It's like one of their core teams. Everything else major is in Epic. This on the Epic shelf, to me, pour moi, this one sticks out as like the one series that, why don't we have it in Epic? At the point that you're doing Blade and Morbius in Epic, New Warriors, we've already like ticked past getting to New Warriors. So in my mind, I don't need this in Omnibus. I don't want it in Omnibus, but I do want it. And I'm now thinking, are they never going to do it in Epic? Because if they did it in Epic, it would be fine. This is only 3 omnibuses long. So it would probably be less Epic collections than Moon Knight. Probably less than New Mutants. But then would they do all the Nova and Night Thrasher? I don't know. The point being, I slept on it for too long, and I refused to buy that fugly Scotty Young cover, and that's the main cover. I want this alternate cover, which makes it even harder. I beat myself up about this constantly, but it's because at the time, it just seemed so likely that it was going to be an Epic collection, and that's the version that I wanted in Epic. Or in print. I wanted Epic. Saz says, Jess is using this as his monitor stand, so could he just send me his copy? Ooh, possibly. Hey, Cody is here. Hello, Cody. Oh my gosh. So many cool people who I really like turned up today, and then a bunch of new people too. It's so much fun. I really, really appreciate it. Do you like this theme? Like, clearly I can't do FOMO all the time, but you all were talking about your FOMO books ahead of the show. Should I do a show that's about your FOMO books? Interesting. Badger Stump picked up all 4, surprised they printed it, and thought I will never see it again. Yeah, that is the thinking that I am having. Also, James, the reminder that there will be an after show, and it will be starting as soon as we're done this list, and we're on number 7. So if you want to come to the after show, you have to look in the description of this video. Okay. Next up, number 6, Madman Library. Here's the thing. When the first one came out, I said, wow, this is gorgeous. It's beautiful. I love Michael Allred. I'm finally going to get to own it. I'm going to read some issues. So I got a few, I think there was something I bought in digital at that time. And I started reading it, and I read like the first 6 issues, and I was like, that's fine. It just didn't like strike me. So then they kept coming out, and I was like, I don't have FOMO. I read the first 4 issues. I'm fine. But then seeing all 6 of them and seeing them get to the end of it and seeing them all perfectly collected, and then volume 4, for some reason, volume 4 was the first one to go out of print. And then I was like, God damn it. So then I think another one is going out of print. Some of them you can still get, and they're doing them again in paperback, but fuck that. I wanted them in hardcover, except for I didn't really want them. So why am I even FOMO now? But now this thing that I could have just easily bought when it came out, but I decided I wasn't interested in, now I'm interested, because I always want the thing. Don't always seem to go. They don't know what you got till it's gone, right, Joni? So now I want it. And so there's lots that do pop up on eBay sometimes, and they're not exorbitantly expensive. They're like $400, which for 6 giant books of this nature is a reasonable price, except for after conversion to New Zealand dollars, that flirts with being $1,000. And once something is more than $1,000, I have to pay more import tax on it. So last time I looked at if I could buy it from eBay, if they would even ship it to me, it would have been like 1,500 New Zealand dollars to get that 400 US dollars worth of books to New Zealand. I know I should just let it go. Like, here's the thing. I don't like to buy things that I'm going to read for the first time in physical format, because then if I don't like it, I'm stuck with it here in New Zealand. And I already started reading this and I'm like, meh. So like, even though this is one of those indie books that is significant and I do care about it, it's kind of like doesn't quite clear the threshold of me wanting to let it into my collection. But now that it's hard to find, I'm like FOMO'd even harder. So I just don't know. I do have all of Grendel. I do have all of Hellboy. Badger saying, yes, volume 4 is impossible to find. Superjob wants it. Yeah, this is a great theme. Not a ton of overlap with my list, but God, that Rights and Frankenstein is absolutely on mine. So yeah, I feel stupid that I didn't just get them as they were happening. But also, do I really need them? I don't know. I've been twisting my nipples about this for years. Ever since the first one, I'm like, oh, and I just can't decide. And I'm still torturing myself about it. And the longer and longer I wait, the more and more expensive it gets. Okay. Number 5, and you know this about me already. So this top 5 is pretty obvious. If you follow me a lot, you're going to be like, uh-huh. So Namor is a mutant. I care about Golden Age comic books. And when they initially released these 2 pre-war and post-war books, I was like, they're missing issues, so I'm not going to buy them. I didn't understand that they had just basically skipped the middle part, the war part, and that they could have easily released that separately and could still. So and they were on IST forever, and I didn't buy them for reasons unbeknownst to me. So now they're hard to get. It's really hard to get omnibuses to New Zealand that are out of print. Even if they're a reasonable amount on eBay, it's expensive to get them here. And Marvel's never going to do this in Epic. I didn't have it in Marvel Masterworks. I should have just frigging bought them. What is wrong with me? But the thing is, you have a different equation if you live in the United States, and the Europeans can tell you this too. Because in the United States, it's like, even when things are hard to get, you set your eBay alert, it pops up eventually, you get it, the shipping's $5, and then it's at your fucking house. That's not how it works in New Zealand. I didn't get the Silver Age Omni, Matt H, because I have all of that in Epic Collection. And if I had and Marvel Masterworks, and if I had any faith that this would eventually come out in some other collection, I would not be that tweaked about it. But Marvel has never shown an interest in putting out their Golden Age stuff in a standard size collection. Dana Andra, working on my FOMO, saying Bill Everett's art is some of the best of the Golden Age era. I probably could do this from eBay, and it wouldn't be the end of the world if it would ship to me, but it would cost me a lot of money in shipping. You have to think, even like a normal box of brand new comics, I am usually paying about a third of the price of the comics in shipping. So if it's like $200 of comics, I am spending $70 to ship them here. So everything for me is 33% more expensive in US dollars. And that's even before like the conversion rate and the purchasing power of New Zealand dollars. Okay. Number 4. Number 4 is the G.I. Joe hardcover compendiums. Here's the thing. I skipped the first Kickstarter because I said to myself, Crisis, you've never even... I love G.I. Joe. I have my giant G.I. Joe. I have a G.I. Joe TTRPG rulebook up here. You know what? I'm getting down the giant omnibus. I think my arm has healed enough post-surgery that I actually can get it down. Because honestly, this book has been unliftable for me. Oh gosh. Okay, maybe this was a mistake. No, we're doing it. Oh God. Okay. So I love G.I. Joe. I grew up with G.I. Joes, watching cartoons, especially the toys. They were my favorite toys because there were so many of them that you could do anything with them. So this was a Kickstarter. It is so heavy. I probably have only lifted enough weights in physical therapy for my arm injury to be able to lift this just now. So this is beautiful. It is one of the coolest things I own. It was worth every dollar. It was worth every little bit of shipping. It's a magnetic seal slipcase. Inside it has this art portfolio. And then behind that, there is a massive, hold on, I'm trying to be careful here. There's this, it's so heavy. and I did just rip my elbow only 9 months ago. It's a huge book, and it has the shots of every G.I. Joe toy and every G.I. Joe toy package that they ever made, with like behind the scenes detail, how they came up with that line of toys. It's so cool. So this is to say that I love G.I. Joes, and I love everything related to G.I. Joes. And I love these original Larry Hama comic books of G.I. Joes. But am I in a point in my life that I'm really going to sit down and read these cover to cover? And I asked myself that when the first Kickstarter came out. And when the first Kickstarter came out, I said no. And so I skipped it. And then I lived in deep, deep FOMO for every second after that. So I said, if they ever do it again, I'm going to buy it. So then they did the second Kickstarter. And the second Kickstarter even had, plus it doesn't have the rest of the series, the IDW half of the series. So I can, because it's missing something, I can avoid my FOMO because I don't like things that are incomplete. So then they did another Kickstarter with the IDW half too, except the combined value of both the original set and the IDW set, or $300 each, 4 books each book $75. So that's $600. That's over the customs limit in New Zealand. So not only would the shipping be another, I think, $200 for me, but then I've got to pay at least 15% on top of that in customs taxes. And because it's over $1,000, it's going to be held by customs until I pay those customs taxes, which they charge you another $100 for holding it. So all of a sudden, that thing that you in the United States could have paid $600 for, maybe like, I don't know, $50 shipping, for me is like 600 US, and then 200 shipping is 800 US. And then 15% is the customs tax. So that's another $120 US. So now we're up to $920 US. And then also the $100 holding fee. That's in New Zealand. So let's call it $60 American. So it's $1,000 for me to get these. $1,000. So I can't get them. I can't. They're right there. I could have pledged for them in Kickstarter, and I just couldn't. Even if I had room for them, even if I decided that I was willing to do them, I physically, to do it, even if I had that money to blow, I could have done it, but it's so much extra money on the custom taxes and the customs holding fee and all that it's more than the books almost. And I just couldn't get there. But then I noticed Panel Bound Comics is selling the Kickstarter sets with none of the extras, which I don't care about extras. I hate Kickstarter extras. If they're like trading cards and bullshit, I'm just going to throw them in the trash. So but the shipping from Panel Bound Comics is like $150, but I could order them to the 2 different chunks of it separately, and they would both be under the customs tax amount, and I probably could save money that way and not have them held up. But Panel Bound Comics, I know some of them are friends of ours, but I've heard mixed things about their shipping quality, and I'm not shipping something all the way to New Zealand to have it be in crappy shape. So I just don't know. I don't know. The other thing is, I know somebody who's moving to New Zealand at the end of this year, and they are going to ship some of their stuff here. So, and it costs a lot of money to ship your stuff to New Zealand. So I might have a limited window in which I can get them maybe 2 big boxes worth of comic stuff that they might be willing to bring to New Zealand on my behalf if I like chip in for their shipping. So but that would be a big favor to ask, and I have to tread very carefully there. So I probably have limited shots at that. And you're probably looking at this whole list and go, but Christ, you could send, but I can't send this whole list to them. That would be crazy. I can probably pick 2 boxes worth of stuff. This is 2 boxes on its own. So I just don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to do. If I won the lottery tomorrow, I would just go and late back the Kickstarter or whatever. I would get it. It wouldn't be a problem, but it's just so much money. Okay. So now let's see all of the things you said, because it says everybody's the Art of G.I. Joe American Hero Omnibus hardcover set, which is what I was showing off. These G.I. Joes are on my FOMO list, but they're just too expensive for my budget. Yeah, same for me. Can I have that box, please? Yes. Okay, thank you. It might be. Oh my God. Oh, okay. Can't do that. This might be the single coolest book object that I own. I'm stumped. I'm stumped to think of anything else. And I've looked through every page. Kid Crisis loves it. We've looked at it together. I'm stumped to think of anything else this cool that I own. Not just because it's in a cool slipcase, not just because of the magnetic enclosure. The production of the book is beautiful. It's every G.I. Joe toy ever. Like it's so cool. It's so well researched. The only thing I can think of that's this cool is that Magnetic Press Georges Best Frankenstein and Dracula set. That's the only thing in the house that comes as close to the absolute amazingness of this. So yeah, all right, more G.I. Joe. Is it a book or is an actual tank in there? Sona Skull dressed as Cobra Commander as a child. Matt has never seen it. It's so awesome. Who needs barbells when you have the Art of G.I. Joe? Yeah, that was inadvisable. I'm only allowed, I think I'm up to 8 kilograms on this arm. We could talk more on the after show, but I shouldn't have done that. Gracie Patrick, it's pure beauty. I've never read this, but I got the Transformers and they're beautiful. I keep being tempted by these. It just sounds so good. Cruel Angel got the first set, got the second one ordered. No way I could pass them up. Who's my favorite Joe and Cobra? Well, I always like women heroes. My favorite Joe, no contest, is Jinx. Ever since seeing the original G.I. Joe movie, I loved Jinx. I loved, like her, that she was like a ninja I loved all the ninjas in the world of G.I. Joes, but since she was one of the few women in G.I. Joes, I did like Lady J, I do like Scarlet, but Jinx was just so cool to me. On the Cobra side, a lot of it's, to me, I liked a lot of the visual design of them, even if I didn't like the character in specific. Of course I love Baroness, but I love the Dreadnoks. So I love Zatanna and what's the guy? Zatanna is the sister, and the man guy is Zartan. But yeah, I love the Dreadnoks a lot. I don't know. We could almost do like a G.I. I could go through every page of that and talk about all of the G.I. Joes. But I also liked a lot of the designs of the Viper. I loved Alley Viper's design. There's just so many cool designs. Okay, please don't rip my arm. Yeah, that would be no good. I have the first set signed by Hannah. Gracie Patrick loves Cobra for sure. I imagine if you could hold it while reading, you'd be in the shape of a G.I. Joe character by the time you finish it. It is so heavy. Yeah. These are by Skybound. That book was released independently by a group of G.I. Joe fans who had done all the research and stuff. It's cheaper for me to buy a house than G.I. Joe Compendium. I mean, it's like weeks and weeks worth of rent on this house. Yeah. And Gracie Patrick saying panel bound does not package books well. Yeah, I've heard a couple of those things occasionally. Why does Kirkman need to do a Kickstarter to print books as licensed? Because Kickstarter is all about marketing. He could make those books on his own if he wanted to, but they reached literally 100 times the audience that a book on the direct market would do. And Kirkman's a great businessman, and he knows that. Who's my favorite between Duke and Flint or Falcon? Flint or not Duke. I always talk about, and now we got to stop this sidebar, but I always talk about like things that are ugly I can't get into. Duke never had a good enough costume for me. Flint had some really great costumes, so I did really like Flint, but for me with G.I. Joes, that was the birth of my, like, if it doesn't look cool, I can't get interested in it. So many G.I. Joes were like plot important, but they were just ugly costumes, like Roadblock. Roadblock just never had a good look, so I was never interested in him. I always liked people who were like cooler looking. Yeah. Okay, we got to move on. We got to move on from this. Okay. Number 3, you know this already. I'm not going to linger too long. I'm obsessed with the original Malibu Ultraverse. Marvel has the rights, and they're probably never going to reprint it for at least 2 different reasons. If I lived in the States, it's not hard to get a hold of all this. You could easily just be on eBay for 2 weeks and probably get every Malibu book ever, have them all show up at your house, all in complete floppies, and then you'd have them. That's what I want to do. Again, I do have this person moving to New Zealand, but this would be a lot of individual boxes to coordinate. This is not just like G.I. Joe where 2 boxes could get to their house. This would be, I could probably find some lots from some of the same sellers and try to gang them up together, but there's so many different stuff, and at some point I'd just be tracking down filler. I think this person might have the patience for me to send them maybe 3 or 4 things that they consolidate into 2 boxes, but I can't do what I did for Wildstorm, which was like 2 weeks of just receiving like 8 packages a day and kind of sorting them into order. Like, that's not going to fly. So I don't know if there's a way for me to do it from New Zealand. You've heard me talk about it so many times before. I love shared universes. I love indie superheroes. This checks every box, and you know that I'm obsessed with it. So let's talk about the top 2. I have a story to tell that I've told in part, I think, in the patrons only stream, which I'll tell you here. So this was in my cart forever. I have it all in floppies, and I don't know why I didn't buy it, because it's X-Men and it's from 2002, which is well within my Marvel buying. I think I was waiting for it in paperback. Why? Because I buy every X-Men oversized? I don't know. I can't tell you why. It doesn't make any sense at all. And then it took forever to sell out. It was on IST forever. And it was in my cart forever. And then one day it was gone. So I thought, you know what? It's not that expensive on eBay. People are still selling it on cover price. I'll just order it. So I ordered it from a big shop on eBay that did international shipping. They sent it. Then 2 weeks later, I got a note. Your book has been returned. And I'm like, did it ever get to New Zealand? No, it never left the United States. I'm like, oh, well, maybe they packaged it badly, whatever. So then I just ordered it from somebody else. And then 2 weeks later, I got the same message. So then I ordered it from a third person. And I was like, look, for some reason, I'm having trouble getting this book shipped. You seem like you do a lot of international selling based on your feedback. Can you just really carefully package it and just let me know if there's any problems? I swear I'm not scamming you. Like you could see who I am online. I have a YouTube channel. I really just want this book. So they sent it. And then sure enough, 2 weeks later, they got it returned. And I was like, did they give you any kind of notification about why it got returned? And they're like, no, it just came back. It just said unshippable. I've bought many things from eBay international shipping. The only guess that I have is because it says weapon on it, which means the box is this like 8-pound box that says contents weapon. That's my only guess. So this I've now tried from 3 very reputable eBay. It says, you bastard. Superjob says, it says the return right on the cover. Like they're just following instructions. So I think this is impossible for me to get in New Zealand right now, which is crazy talk. So I think this has to be one of the things that I either send to the person that's moving to New Zealand, or I send it to Omar or Jess and start like a little box that maybe they'll send to me, but that will be very expensive. But like, I've now bought this 3 times. 3 times. Yeah, contents weapons could be the problem. But the return could also be a problem if LLMs are involved. Oh, I didn't think of that. Yeah, LLMs could be reading it as the return and just returning it. So I wonder if I can talk to this person who is communicating with to be like, put it in a box again and have the label just say Wolverine Omnibus. Yeah, Christ is the arms dealer, right? Probably the weapon word. In my country, they flag things, but description automatically. Yeah, and but the thing is, I swear I've gotten at least one thing shipped here that was weapon X something. And New Zealand Customs, they're really professional. Like they open your thing very carefully. They check what it is. You'll get a little note in your box. Like I've had things inspected by Customs before. So if it could just get here, it would be fine. It's not New Zealand Customs that's rejecting it. It's on the United States side. They're not letting it be sent. So I don't know what I'm going to do, but somehow we're going to get this book here. Okay. Number 1, it's like surprising, but not surprising, but you're going to be surprised, but we're going to talk about it. Number 1 is the Age of Krakoa omnibuses. I don't buy Marvel after 2015. I don't. The only Marvel after 2015 in this house is that the kid has 2 trades of Unstoppable Wasp. That is it. I've read it all digitally. It's all on Marvel Unlimited. And this, House of X, Powers of X, because I talk about it so much, I reference it so much, I think about it so much, I just wanted it physically. And so those are the only post 2015 Marvel things in this house. DC, I have a similar rule. I do have some new 52 that I was buying at the time. I don't own anything post Rebirth except for Gotham Academy, which again is the kid, and DC Superhero Girls. So this is my one rule that I do not violate. All of these other rules I break occasionally. I only do oversized DC Wonder Woman, except for I might get Batwoman. I know I don't do this except for that. Like all of those rules get broken all the time. Marvel and DC, my whole like don't get into buying stuff from after your digital line. I've always held the line on that rule. But then there's the FOMO. Because now we restocked that first Age of Krakoa Omnibus twice. Then they straight up reprinted it. There's going to be like a reprint / restock of volume 2. How many times are they going to keep going back to press on these? And are they going to go back to press after Dawn of X? Because Dawn of X is really only 2 books, and then we're into Reign of X, and Dawn of X is like where it's like kind of the big hits because it's Hickman being in charge. It's everything running up to X of Swords, and now they're reprinting X of Swords, which like we didn't even know if ever was going to happen. So it feels like the FOMO is very high on one side just to get the 2 Dawn of X's and the X of Swords while they're available. But then we know this omnibus line is going to keep going and maybe be 11 omnibuses long potentially. So now we're into Reign of X omnibuses. I think Omar has announced through 3 now, right? The one with Hellfire Gala. I forget if it's 2 or 3, but that's the one that he announced recently. So the next question is, well, are they going to keep restocking as aggressively for Reign of X the way they did for Dawn of X? Or once they're gone, are they going to be gone? And to me, this is X-Men comics. This is what X-Men comics always were meant to be. This is what X-Men comics always should have been. This is what X-Men comics should always aspire to be again. It's not only the Hickman of it, it's the everybody of it. It's the everybody working together. It's the storytelling. It's the Krakoa. It's the ethno state. It's the all mutants are one. It's the everybody being alive again. It's the Gillen. It's the Ewing of it. It's everything. Everything about it, to me, makes it the most significant X-Men period in history. But the thing is, thinking about reading it in omnibus, totally in these anthology books, I didn't like all of it. You can go back on this channel. Many of you know this channel because I used to do This Week in X every single week with Faria, Harry, and Tyler, and we did not like all of the issues of this period. So, like, to get these omnibuses, I'm going to be having to reread Fallen Angels again. I'm going to have to reread Children of the Atom again. God, that was terrible. Like, there's, you know, do I want to allow those things into my house? But part of me is like, if this is what X-Men is to me, if this finally drew together all the things I loved about X-Men in a perfectly encapsulated way, then why would I not have it in my house? This is X, and the thing is, it works because I can skip right from where I left off buying X-Men physically, you know, at AVX, although I do have all of Marvel now, but we like to pretend that I don't, right to this, and it reads perfectly. You don't need to read any of the stuff that came before because it doesn't matter. So here's why I wound up on it. I'm at least going to buy through X of Swords because I think X of Swords is really cool. I'm going to get both the Dawn of X books, I think, and I'm going to have X of Swords. Reign, I just don't know, because honestly, after Reign, after we get into that back half, first it has some of my favorite X-Men of all time with Al Ewing and Kieran Gillen, and then it has a lot of bullshit. So I just don't know. I just don't know. And I've seen everybody's reviews and I've seen the reading order, but I just want to see what my experience is with one of those Dawn of X omnibuses. But it's X-Men, and I have everything X-Men except for that stupid Weapon X book. So, like, it's like I said at the beginning, I have everything I've wanted for X-Men and Wonder Woman, so I can't FOMO myself. But this has been lurking out there FOMOing me, and it's material that I know intimately well, and it's material that means a lot to me, and so I don't think I can resist it forever. And that's my story. That's my story. So I'm sure many of you have things to say about this because it is Krakoa. So John, shocked. One Wheelchair X, shocked. Wiccan, not shocked. Secunda saying, I own the first Age of Krakoa Omnibus, but I keep thinking I might regret it because I don't believe Marvel will complete the line. They're going to complete the line. At least until the end of Reign. We'll see if they do the back half. Surely Immortal X-Men by Kieran Gillen at least. Yeah, but I don't want that on its own. Like, to me, again, the allure of this, you have to think about the themes I keep coming back to. I love a complete set of something, and I love something that leaves nothing behind in his perfect reading order. These Age of books actually are doing better than I thought they would for what they collect. That one that Omar announced, Reign 2, it has stuff I didn't even expect them to put in it. Reign 1 added Juggernaut. Like, they're being very comprehensive. So just getting the Immortal book, those books are all mapped bullshit because none of them have X-Men 35 in them. So none of them end. And the Kieran Gillen book doesn't have X-Men Blue in it either. So, or not X-Men Blue, X-Men Wedding Special from 2024. So, like, that book's mapped badly. I'm immune to books that are mapped badly. I do not get FOMO for books that I could have mapped better myself. I don't touch it. But now you can see why I have Judgment Day on this list too, because clearly if I get all of the Krakoa omnibuses, I'm also going to want Judgment Day. There's normally an exception to the rule. Edwin Billiot says, I don't buy modern X-Men, but I'm getting the Age of Krakoa Omnis. I hate that they're doing creative books. It's confusing. Cedric Nellen, you're right. There's also Strange Academy. So let's up that to now there are 7 post 2015 Marvel books in this house because Kid Crisis does have those. Jamie C getting them for certain. Badger Stump, I've been helping you navigate all of the Krakoa mappings. So get in the trenches and buy these suckers. Robert Secunda saying they didn't complete the Krakoa anthology trade paperbacks. They didn't complete the OHGs. They've been burned too many times. I feel that way too. But I think the sales have been so good. You have to think, like, how hard would the sales have to drop off in Omnibus for them to not sell those past couple? And X-Men and Omnibus has like a built-in sales base that's very different than the OHCs and the trade paperbacks. Bear's Lair bought into this. Krakoa was Marvel's triangle years. Super Chop held off to see if they would reprint X of Swords now that they are the FOMO starting to bite. Same for me. When I was like, oh, who knows what they're going to do with X of Swords? I was like, it was easier for me to stay away. Now that they're doing X of Swords, now I'm kind of caught. Not me thinking the stream was over and accidentally spoiling number 1 for myself. Yarnable says, give in, bub. See you next Tuesday, Children of the Atom. Yeesh. Goody saying, clearly I love this to me. Max saying, but I do read, I loved X Corp. Max, you don't know me. You don't know me as well as you think you do, Max, because I loved X Corp. Because if there's one thing I like better than superheroes, it's superheroes doing bullshit, bureaucratic, boring nonsense. That's one of my favorite tropes. Richard B says, Rain is announced through Volume 2. By the way, that was not insider knowledge on my part saying Volume 3. I truly could not remember. The one that I remember is the one that ends in Hellfire Gala. I have it all mapped, and I think you could be right. They went a little shorter than I thought on Rain 2, which means the next one a little bit more complex. So there you go. Those are my most FOMO. Actually, I had a little bit more to say. Hold on. Those are all of my most FOMO'd books. 50 books that if I had infinite money and infinite shelf space, maybe I would get all 50, except for Bernie Wright's and Frankenstein's. That's not even impossible. So let me just leave you with the reminder that I love to give at the end of streams, and this stream has it in writing. We can disagree and we can still love each other, especially in comics. They're just comic books. Unless your disagreement is rooted in my oppression and the denial of my humanity and right to exist, or anybody else's for that matter. And that's a quote by Robert Jones Jr., who calls himself on social media son of Baldwin. So I love disagreeing with you about comics. Come here every week and disagree with me about comic books. And then agree with me that we are never going to see anybody oppressed and we're never going to deny anybody's humanity. Because here's an actual James Baldwin quote. You think your pain and your heartbreak are unprecedented in the history of the world, and then you read. Because stuff like this, the comics we love, this community we share together, that's what brings us together, and that's what's a shield against all the hate and oppression, and that's what lets us know that there's people out there both in stories and in the world reading the stories with us that matter to us and care about the same things and have the same values of us. That's why I do all these shows. That's why I'm here online. I could just spend all this time on reading, but I don't. I spend this time talking to you. It takes time to put this together. It takes time to make the list. It takes time to get the pictures. But I do it because pain and heartbreak is, we come to a place, like I almost did the Nicole Kidman AMC Theaters monologue, because it's so much easier to experience pain and heartbreak if you know that there's a community to share it with. And so that's why I spend the time to do this. And I'm so happy you spend your time with me. That was the crisis of never ending FOMO and regret. Did you find any books that you're adding to your FOMO pile? Leave a comment below. And what should I count down next? Because there's so many things I count down. Should I count down things that used to be FOMO and then I bought? Should I count down your FOMO? All of those things are possible. The link to the after show is in the description below, unless I seriously screwed up, but I suspect it's really there. If you've not reloaded this from the, and since it like started, the start, then you probably don't see the link yet, but I just confirmed it is there. So that is it for me today. There's so much to come in the coming months. I am still going to be doing some more about Epic Collections because you all were really supportive of and really seemed to enjoy that stream last week about Epic Collections. I'm also going to be coming back and doing maybe another thing with One Wheelchair X sometime. I have my new project I'm working on with Max. There's so much to come, and I'm already starting to make plans for a special anniversary stream in August that might have more special guests. So please, if you have not already subscribed. Please, if you haven't already liked, liking helps other people find this in the algorithm, even people who are already subscribed to the channel. So please do that. And until I see you again on one of those shows or on many of the other places on the internet that exist, like Reddit, like League of Comic Geeks, like Omar's Discord, please, until I see you in one of those places or here, don't have a crisis. Unless, of course, it's me.